Let's do some Stony Progressive. Was planning on getting to some of this last night. I usually take Thursday off, my one day I usually don't stream, but I got called off of work. And since I took last night off, let's make up for it, huh? And readjust everything. We had the cleaning people doing cleaning things, so everything's a little off, and we will get there. But let's blaze one up. Let's check out some news. Let's see what's going on today. I do have a Stony Progressive takedown for the state of Arizona later tonight. Gonna wait for those Arizonans to hop on at the end of the podcast. I used to live in Phoenix, so there might be a few joiners later. Um, but mostly, yeah, gonna blaze, gonna stop and talk some legalize and weed things, but mostly stick with news tonight. I got so much to get through. If I save it all for tomorrow, I'll never get to it. I am going to do a first time ever hiking with the dog in Florida. I'm going to try that from the phone tomorrow for Twitch, guys. So, daytime hike with the dogs and a buddy. See how that goes on the phone. I got it all downloaded and ready. So, that'll be a first timer tomorrow. If you want to check me out if you're a YouTuber and you want to check me out, again, that's the same name, Stony Progressive on Twitch. I dual stream every night, and I can do a few things that I can't do on Twitch. So I can do a few things on Twitch that I can't do on YouTube. And I might be joining Rumble pretty soon because there's some things I just can't talk about. And I'm getting throttled. And I feel like with this new censorship round, Rumble might take off. So I think I might join Rumble and start doing it there too as my third. I can stream to three things at once. So as my third, I might do Rumble because they're the least censored. They don't censor at all. I can do any of these stories that I talk about without getting throttled, and that is not the case with YouTube. And I've already had a couple things on Twitch, so I can't be completely unleashed on either one of these platforms, but I can on Rumble. So I might be adding that to the repertoire now that I am unemployed. I'm not unemployed yet. I'm still a bartender, but I put in my 2 weeks because I hate my job. Hate my job. And the bosses were getting horrible. And it's the busiest time of the year, and the bosses are getting horrible. They deserve to crash and fail. I don't need to be a part of that anymore. Two bartenders quit, and a bar back quit in a week, and one bartender was fired, and three servers were quit like in 2 days. I think four total in the week. Like it's yeah, that's a problem with them, not with us, right, guys? So worker class got to unite. If you have a lot of people walking out, walk out with them. I'll put in my 2 weeks. I'll make a little bit of money, but I'm not gonna be a part of their system. And every once in a while, that's the only power we have is to do that little bit. This thing does not want to be where I want it to be. It's right there. So let's blaze one up and start with our first video. That seems like appropriate time. All right. Um, a lot I want to go over tonight, and I am going to be doing. I think I'm going to start doing one video a night at the end, just on Twitch, because again, I get throttled by YouTube, and I get warnings from Twitch, so I got to be careful with that. And so I think I'm not going to take the YouTube hit tonight. I'll play one video at the end of the night just for Twitch, and then I might do that for the rest of the weekend, see how that goes, and then possibly start on Rumble next week. Depending, yeah, I think they're going to blow up because this whole Russia censorship thing. I think a lot of people are going to be sick of being censored and go to Rumble. That's my theory. But let us start today with somebody who has been censored. Government Secrets has Lee Camp and Graham Elwood. I've shown this many a time, so it's nothing new. But Graham has been demonetized from YouTube for 13 months now, and Lee Camp was just deplatformed on many ways. He was completely taken down in every which way. I say this every night this week since he's been taken down. I will be covering him every night because I know 85% of my viewers might be live, but I don't know I get about 75% non-returning viewers, so people who check me out and come back, I don't know, whenever. So For those of you who are not returning, I want to keep plugging this away. He was canceled. He was censored. That's why I'm talking about Rumble. That's why I'm going to be showing some Rockfin videos at the end of the night, and we'll do what we can.
Up, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's blaze one up.
Former host of
Government
Redacted
secrets.
Tonight. We're going to talk about it. This is heartbreaking. Lee Camp, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, man, I finally lapped you in the censorship Olympics. I thought we've been winning for like a year now. And I was like, hold my beer.
Yeah. I'm tired of Graham getting all this sweet censorship praise. I want to have my main, like, sole source of revenue taken away from me just to stick it in Graham's face.
I am sick of him acting like he's the sole pariah. Listen, I want to have my life equally destroyed. So
I'm tired of Graham's. Ew, I lost some of my revenue. I'm going to lose all of my revenue. Fuck nut. Take that.
In 1 week, I lost my TV show's been canceled. My Spotify removed my other podcast, Moment of Clarity, and all Redacted Tonight YouTube videos are banned in Europe and the UK. So,
Jesus,
doing well.
All right, again, for those of you who catch me later, I'll announce if I have any complaints, but I'm going to watch this at 1.25 because I want to watch a bit of it while we let some joiners join, but I also want to, I want to get through it as far as we can, but I got a lot to cover tonight. So for the blazing part of our show, let's watch them and let's listen to them in 1.25. A, so I don't get throttled. B, so we can get through some more of it. C, because I'm not going to stop and talk about it a lot. So we will just push through this episode. It's very important still, but
wow. I guess me being bummed that Ethereum's not doing great. I probably couldn't bring that up right now, huh?
I mean, if you could stop talking about the traffic from your tanning bed or whatever the fuck it was, that would help. That would.
Tanning bed. Lee, it was yoga class. It was not a tanning bed. I mean,
it was outdoor yoga, so I got a tan, but still.
I mean, yes, I was driving with my windows down in my electric car after yoga because it's beautiful outside, but that was not a tanning bed, Lee Camp. It was hot yoga and it was a moving meditation. So
and by traffic, I mean, there was a tortoise that was going a little slow in the middle of the road and I kind of had to sit there for a minute. So,
I was surfing yesterday and the waves were a little tumultuously, so I needed to go to yoga. So if you could really just kind of think about what I'm going through, that would be helpful.
Yes, indeed. For those who aren't familiar, this week, all of RT America suddenly shut down on Wednesday, March 2nd. They stopped all programming, didn't tell us why, and then the following day said, it's all over. See you guys later. It's pretty upsetting. I mean, it's kind of ironic to see Redacted Tonight finally be redacted.
You should get Redacted Tonight shirts that have redacted across the front of them.
Yes. So for those who want to continue to support my work, I am at Patreon now. I created it yesterday, patreon.com/LeeCamp. I didn't want to be at Patreon because it's, as we talked before, they kind of suck, but it's kind of the only place you can do exclusive content in that way. But anyway, so I wrote an article. The first thing I wrote over there is an article about what I think happened, because they told us nothing. And if you read the articles about what went down with RT America closing, the articles act like, oh, they lost their platforms and they just closed because of revenue stream. And I'm calling a major horseshit on that one. So they did lose. So DirecTV stopped carrying them, and Roku stopped carrying them, and those were two of their biggest platforms. But even if that revenue is cut off, RT America had enough money to go for several months, if not a year. They have huge online presence.
So I've heard, I did this the other day, but if you don't, a lot of you guys only catch, it seems like a lot of people just check me out once a week or so, I'm not complaining, I'm just saying, I repeat a lot of stuff. I apologize if you're one of the few people that do catch me every day, but for those of you who catch me on a weekly basis or whatever, I had the NPR clip the other day when they were literally saying that, they got taken down, but they got taken down because so many people quit. So it was a max exodus and nobody wanted to work for them, so they just couldn't even air. And here's one of their ex-employees Now they found an ex-employee that was living in Europe, and had a lot of bad things to say about the company. This person is Lee Camp, has been working for them for 8 years, and had nothing but good things to say. Same with Jesse Ventura, who I trust. Just same with Ed Schultz, loved it there. Chris Hedges loves it there.
So they'd still have a lot of viewers even without DirecTV. And the fact that it was so immediate, it was like everything ceases right now, nothing going further, makes me think, without evidence, I don't speak for RT America. Like I said, I have no actual evidence of this, but it just makes me think that the Justice Department probably told them you're done.
Yeah, I mean, that wouldn't shock me either. I mean,
Yeah.
And this is what I would say to the audience that's watching this, watching our show right now, who I'm sure many of them, I mean, I was a regular viewer. I watched Boom Bust. That's how I learned about it. I mean, you and I follow Rachel Blevins on Twitter.
Boom and Bust, watching the Hawks. Of course, Chris Hedges on Contact. You had Larry King lives on there now. You just had so many quality shows, and Crosstalk was fantastic most of the time. It could be a little annoying, but Crosstalk had multiple perspectives on. They always had multiple perspectives, always. Crosstalk was fantastic.
I don't know her personally, but we follow each other, and I watch
The Big Picture with Tom Hartman was on there.
And she was one of the earliest ones censored a couple of years ago. They deleted her entire Facebook, 77,000 fans without explanation, just for being a reporter at RT.
Yeah, and so and I've had Christy I from Boom Bust on my show several times. I've been a semi-regular on Crosstalk with Peter Lavelle.
Yes, he's
I've been
amazing.
on Redacted. Ron and I were on Redacted a couple years ago when we were in DC.
Yep.
I watch Max Kaiser. I've had him and Stacey Herbert on my show.
Fantastic.
I watch On Contact.
Which is Chris Hedges. They also have had Jesse Ventura.
Yep, I used to watch that show. I think I even had Samira Khan on my show when she was still a correspondent for RT. Yep. So I've watched a lot of RT content and always really liked it. And so this is what I would say to the audience watching right now. If you have DirecTV or Roku, reach out and complain. Like, let them know that you're pissed at this. But I wouldn't be surprised if because there's nowhere for Americans to get any counter narrative to what's happening right now. And it's so, I was watching both. I was watching this last 2 weeks. I've watched CNN and Fox and MSNBC, and I've tried to watch RT, and Democracy Now! Is pretty.
Right.
So I am currently looking at canceling subscription, guys, and I try not to be a cancel culture, but I think that's a good idea. I think I'm going to cancel Spotify tomorrow, and I am going to send them the message saying that you guys took down Lee Camp. So I am canceling Spotify. They took off his whole, Moment of Clarity. I don't know if that's all just in Europe or if that's here, but if he's going to take off Moment of Clarity at all, I have to cancel you. And I'm going to send that message to Spotify. I'm going to cancel that. I think I'm going to cancel that and add Rumble to my subscriptions. I'll start streaming on Rumble. I'll start doing that maybe I'll do that tomorrow, because I think we got to cancel that kind of stuff, guys. If they're gonna censor their content, we need to cancel them.
They're pretty neat.
No, a lot of the so-called left-wing media has just fallen for it hook, line, and sinker. We don't need to go into all the details. We did that in the last episode, but it's like, all I'm asking for is some context. And for people who didn't listen to last week's episode and think that I somehow support Russia's war, support any bombing, it's like, no, I have clearly stated, and I was allowed to state at RT America, which made it different from the other networks. I was allowed to state that I was opposed to all war, opposed to all bombing, opposed to killing civilians, all that shit. And right now, what we're seeing is the U.S. feigning that they care, U.S. government, U.S. media, feigning that they care about Ukrainian civilians while wanting this conflict, this war, to last as long as possible.
Yes.
They do not want this to end. So it's really an impressive form of propaganda. Hey, everybody, care about these civilians so that we can, make this last as long as possible by somehow acting like, the grandmas in the streets of Ukraine are going to defeat the Russian military or whatever the fuck. And there's a huge pressure on Ukraine from the U.S. to not accept any of the peace deals. So the U.S. wants more death and destruction.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing that's so alarming is like the one-sided narrative. So it's like Putin is trying to blow up a nuclear power plant. No, that's not true. No. He hit a training center that was near a nuclear facility. And the nuclear facility apparently is okay. Now, again, I'm not happy. I don't like Putin bombing anybody. I wish he would pull out of there. But there's no counter narrative. And I put this speech that Putin gave 2 days ago that, again, I could only find like on some obscure Twitter feed where he's like, we don't want neo-Nazis. And the Azov Brigade, no one in the Western media is talking about how they are openly neo-Nazi. Now, does that mean all of Ukrainian government and military is neo-Nazi? No. But they're still working with, it's like.
Right. And the other thing we went over in the last Government Secrets, I highly recommend everybody go check it out. The other thing we went over is the expansion to NATO, which is a military alliance right into Russia's face, despite all the promises that they would not keep expanding. They keep expanding. And Russia has said time and again that they, need promises that are kept, that NATO will not expand to Ukraine and Georgia and former Soviet bloc countries. And yet it just keeps going. So like I've said, and like you've said, we're opposed to this, but also a lot of the U.S., the people who are highly trained in understanding geopolitics knew this was going to happen. And it seems that the U.S. is thinking, well, it's good that it's happening because it's a good PR win for the U.S. And it's, we're winning the propaganda war. But apparently they were nervous enough that they weren't winning the propaganda war that they had to shut down all of RT America.
I know. It's like, I just want to hear a different perspective, and now I can't. And that this is what really bothers me. I really why can't I thought we had a free, and the other thing too, people are like, yeah, shut down RT. I'm like, so you're against democracy. You're against freedom of the press. The press should be calling out those in power. So who's going to call out those in power now?
Right. No adversarial media, and people probably hear that and they go, Fox News hates Biden. And it's like, dude, it's all within an allowable window of corporate thought, pretending these are two diametrically opposed parties when in fact they agree on 90% of the structural issues in this country. They agree on fucking creating war with Russia despite the nuclear threat. They agree on all this shit. There is no difference in the two parties when it comes to geopolitics. And you're right. You can't get all these voices were just silenced. And by the way, the other thing that people like to pretend, RT had one talking point or one view. It's like, dude, they hired people that are so different. There were people in that studio. I worked at the DC studio that there were right wingers there, former Fox News people that I didn't agree with on just about anything. Like, they allowed a lot of different viewpoints. Basically, I'd say the one theme of who was at RT America is people who were not acceptable inside the corporate talking points of American media.
That was it.
Yeah,
that was it. They were not acceptable. Like you can be on Fox if you're critical of Joe Biden, but you can't be critical of war. You can say Joe Biden just isn't doing war the right way, the Republican way. But if you say, why are we doing any of these wars? You're gone. It's the same. It's the same thing. Like, you can say, why is Trump on MSNBC? You can say, why is Trump doing this or that with the war? But you can't say, why the hell are we in any wars? The other thing that is so mystifying here, we talked about it last week and we can move on, but that RT was doing, which is like, and I just put something on my Instagram that AJ Plus put out there of like, this talk of these refugees, their blonde hair, blue eyed, like the white supremacy of this. What about all of no mention of Yemen. Yeah. Joe Biden didn't mention it in his State of the Union speech, which basically, if you weren't paying attention, I guess we've never bombed anybody. The American economy is doing great and Putin bad. And Scranton and oil. Those are the things Joe Biden mentioned, And so no one's if the international community held America accountable for its human rights violations, there would be no U.S. sports teams playing in international competition for the last 20 years. That's like, we wouldn't, no World Cups, no Olympic for 20 years now. We've been doing human rights violations, and no one's saying that. It's like, and then when I say that, it's like, that doesn't mean I love Putin and what he's doing. But Putin has been making it very clear, we're killing neo-Nazis. We're not going to have Nazis on our border. I hope Russia pulls out of the Ukraine. If they take a couple Nazis with them, fine by me,
and this is why you can't be on TikTok. You're just all about the Nazis, man.
I know. It's like I'm just saying all the same kind of crazy stuff that my uncles who fought in World War II said when we sent young American men to go to Europe to kill Nazis. They had one goal, and now we're siding with them. It's almost like I'm as crazy as my uncles and all of the allies were in World War II.
And considering that these dumb algorithms just like, we didn't type anything out. So that means they're just listening to our voices and creating a transcript and then deleting anything that uses the word Nazi, which means you could never have negative news about Nazis, which means no one could ever learn about the harm being caused by Nazis or neo-Nazis here in the U.S. I was nearly killed by a neo-Nazi in Charlottesville. You can have none of that news on your social media platforms because they're just eliminating anything that even sounds like Nazi. You probably couldn't even have a show that's two blind people talking about how they can Nazi. And their shit's getting deleted.
I can't believe you just said Nazi like that, Lee. I'm really offended.
It's pretty offensive. Pretty
It
offensive.
is pretty offensive. I'm going to shut your side of this stream down just because that offended my algorithm. You offend my algorithm, Lee Camp.
Offend it.
Which is the organ right next to the gallbladder.
It is. That's true. I know science. Well, dude, I think you should start doing it. You should start doing on Rockfin. You should start live streaming and doing basically Redacted Tonight. Just call it Ledacted Tonight and do it on Rockfin. Just keep the show going on Rockfin because I think they're not going to censor you there.
True. Yeah, I'll call it Unredacted Tonight or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, if people want to help, I don't know what this. Look, to be clear, it's not like I'm starving, so I'm not saying that either. But I don't know what my next big project like Redacted Tonight will be. I haven't figured it out yet. But I'm going to continue making content even as I figure that out. There will be Moment of Clarity videos. There will be podcasts like this one. And so if people want to support all of that, it's patreon.com/LeeCamp.
Give Lee some love,
and
guys.
go to rockfin.com/LeeCamp.
Make sure you follow Moment of Clarity. Make sure that blows up because he needs to be doing stuff still. We need American comedians that are pushing against the narrative since journalists won't push against the narrative. Mainstream media sure as fuck won't push against the narrative. So we need people like this. So let's show some love.
As well. And,
And
also, and we'll talk about it later. You sent me a text today, and I think we're going to have more time to take government secrets on the road now. So
listen, I'm nothing but time now, man. I'm just going to show up outside your door, just sitting in the front of your apartment building. Just like, well, let's do something, man. You want to get some green juice? You want to sit in the traffic on the way to the tanning bed yoga?
You want to go charge your electric car and make smoothies? Come on, buddy. Let's do it. I've got time. Well, you're welcome to show up here anytime and go to my tanning bed. Really, I look forward to that. So, all right. What's up? By the way, this is Government Secrets, episode 74. Redacted tonight.
Lee Camp laps Graham in the censorship Olympics.
Oh, this is I mean, I thought my TikTok getting censored was but now you had a whole network get wiped out. So
if I'm going down, I'm taking Jesse Ventura and Chris Hedges with me. And William Shatner and Dennis Miller. Dude, I love the funniest fucking thing. The funniest fucking thing was that Dennis Miller, who, by the way, I used to respect back in the late 80s and stuff. He did some good comedy, and I used to really enjoy it. And then his HBO show was okay. It, had some libertarian stuff. And then he fucking, after 2001, he spun off the rails and just became a right-wing lunatic. So then he joins RT America as an interview show. And literally, like, his lineup is just all B, C, and D celebrities. It's people you haven't heard of in 15 years and stuff like that. And which is fine, do your thing. But he took a grandstand like 2 days before this past week, 2 days before RT was shut down. So it hadn't shut down yet. And he took a grandstand where he said, I am leaving RT America because I do not believe in what's going on with Russia or whatever. And I was like, oh yeah, what a brave man. I am no longer going to host my interviews with the guy who played Steve Urkel on RT America. No longer will the great numbers of fans of my interesting questions with Carlton from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air be aired on your network.
It's like he's an old person that just discovered podcasts. And he's like, I can just interview anybody? Yeah, Dennis, you can.
I watched this Dane Cook interview because I was fascinated how he'd fill an hour. And it kind of almost seems impressive. Kind of like, can you sit here and stare at a wall for an hour?
Wow. Like I'm glad he left RT just for the words Dane Cook interview. You know what I mean? Like that's enough for him. Like when that one dropped, RT should have been like, "Hey, it's time for you to go back." Do your
and then
show.
the other, sorry to go off on these tangents, but the other one was William Shatner also stopped his show like 2 days before. And the hilarious thing was William Shatner is 91, I think. And like literally his show is literally called I Don't Understand. And he'd interview scientists, and I watched a few minutes. He literally didn't understand what the hell was going on, but he seemed to have no idea what network he was on or what was like, and people are like yelling at him like, you got to get off RT America. And he's like, who said that? And there's somebody on the Twitter bot. Like it was the most ridiculous fucking situation.
Oh God. Well, yeah, it's like, okay. Well, I'm sorry, Redacted's done. I'm sorry, RT America's done because I liked watching it. I liked being on shows. But we'll be announcing more government secret live dates for the summer. So be ready for that, folks.
Yeah.
All right, so you want to do a This Week in Government Secrets, buddy? A Twigs?
All right, we're going to get through This Week in Government Secrets before we move on. Because, yeah, Government Secrets is a great podcast. You can listen to it on Spotify. You can listen to it on YouTube. You can watch it on YouTube. You can watch it on Rockfin. You can watch it many places, guys. So, yeah, I usually try to watch it on Rockfin because that way Graham gets paid. But when I watch Rockfin on YouTube, YouTube censors me. Great little.
Yeah, I have a few, and then we'll finish up with your story. So I have three This Week in Government Secrets. This is March 4th, 1789. In New York City, the first Congress of the United States meets, putting the U.S. Constitution into effect.
Ooh.
And that, of course, is not the government secret. I would like to add that while I understand people are very fond of their nationalism and pride in the Constitution and stuff, you have to remember that although there was a revolution against the king and the monarchy in England, this was still very rich men. It was basically a dispute between oligarchs. This was very rich men, leading very poor people. Sometimes the Continental Army or whatever was like these raggy little, wearing scraps of clothing, farmhands and stuff. I mean, it was rough at times. And I don't doubt the bravery and all that stuff for these folks fighting. But I just think the secret side of it, you don't need me to tell you how cool the Revolutionary War was. The secret side of it is that these are also very rich men who wanted to be done with being lorded over by the monarchy. And so they led this revolution. But, George Washington was one of the 10th richest people in all of the United States. If you're considering money wealth, he was insanely rich. And of course they all had slaves. I know that's luckily no longer a secret, although, many people until recently kind of denied it or ignored it or something. And I think one of the biggest secrets, which we've talked about before, is when they said all men are created equal in the Declaration of Independence, they meant 6% of the population, white landowning men. 6% were the all men are created equal.
I love to it's just another example. Like even the founding fathers, like now America was literally just set up as a tax dodge. Like this was just this was the original Cayman Islands, basically, is what this is.
Yep. This was just Donald Trump on horseback saying, "I'm not paying the king."
It's like, and I love that when it all comes down, most wars are just oligarchs fighting with each other, which is basically what Joe Biden said at his State of the Union. He's like, Russian oligarchs are bad, but American oligarchs are the shit, man. Right. They're awesome.
Right. Only Russia has oligarchs. There's no ruling class at the top of America.
No, not at all. This is a land of the free. The working class is always represented. That's taken care of. That's why 100 new billionaires were created during a once in 100-year pandemic that has destroyed people's lives and their wealth and everything else. Yeah, that's exactly.
It's like $5.5-6 trillion has gone to billionaires over the course of the pandemic now.
And about 1.4, I think around 1.5 trillion dollars in new debt has gone on to the average American.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know if people notice, it's kind of like siphoned from the bottom half to the top 1%.
Right.
So number 2 on the list of
Twigs, number 2.
Twigs is March 4th, 1957. The S&P 500 stock market index is introduced. The S&P 500. So, of course, the secret side of the stock market is it's a fucking Ponzi scheme. It's a goddamn Ponzi scheme. All right? Literally, these are pieces of paper that are nothing unless you find someone else to buy it for more, which is the definition of a Ponzi scheme. Otherwise, it is nothing. It is. If you take a Google stock in and you say, I want my money's worth, they will give you less than a penny. It says in fine print, it's like 1/10 of a penny for your Google stock, which is whatever, $1,000 or I don't know what it is. But they'll give you a penny. They'll say, there you go. That's what's that piece of paper's worth. Stock market is a massive Ponzi scheme. And again, that doesn't mean you can't get rich from it because guess what? A lot of people get rich from Ponzi schemes.
Yeah. Somebody gets screwed over. And the S&P 500, the advent of it is just another thing to make regular working Americans debate over. You know what I mean? Just who's in the top 25 for college football or something like that. It's just another thing for people to oh, did you hear so-and-so dropped out of the S&P 500? Moving up the ranks at number 165 is this horrible corporation that you think is a good person. Yeah. That's all it is. It means nothing. It's more, it's just a Billboard 100 for the fucking oligarchs is what it is. It's just
and they use it to to decide whether the American economy is doing well. They'll go, look how good the S&P 500 is doing. But in fact, these corporations do well when the American worker is fucked. That's when they do their best, when they fucked over the American worker. So in fact, and I've used this analogy before, that looking at the stock market to decide the health of the economy is like looking at the leeches on a dying man to figure out how healthy it is and going, well, the leeches look happy, so all is well.
Well, that's basically what Biden said in his State of the Union speech. Like, everything's great. You know what I mean? And we're going to have a recession. That's going to happen. We're going to have a financial collapse.
Scott Ritter, who's the former UN's weapons inspector, and called that there would be no WMD in Iraq and everything. So he's right about a lot of this stuff. He said the U.S. is really loving that Russia is losing a propaganda war, that their economy suffered all the sanctions on them. But he goes, these people don't even understand this is going to fucking kill the economy of Europe, of the U.S. Like, he's like, I don't think these people are ready for the pain that's coming.
It's going to be awful. And at any moment, Putin, he's hinted at it. He could just go, okay, we're moving to Bitcoin. Because in the first 2 days of the attack and the sanctions, in the neighborhood, and I'm sure this number has gone up, but in the neighborhood of $1.5 billion in rubles went to Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's wild, guys. They're moving things. They're looking at crypto. But that was the opening segment, so we got to move on eventually. I tried to watch not much more than half. We're almost about halfway. So that was half of your government secrets this week. The intro, the this week, always good. And then they're going to do a CIA creates porn segment. So if you're interested in the CIA creates porn, check out Graham Elwood or Lee Camp, or check out Government Secrets on Spotify. But I suggest you delete your Spotify. They censored Lee Camp on his other side. So I don't know. It's a mixed feelings, right? But there's other ways to watch it. So let's try to give these guys some props. Government Secrets. I'm going to check this out. I got suggested it by somebody yesterday or the day before. So I'm going to check out, Kyle Dunnigan. I never looked him up before. This was a clip that somebody recommended, so I wanted to give them another shout out since they recommended it on the Twitch. Let's check this out again.
Finally, new rule.
As a comedy break.
Comedians can't make fun of Joe Biden because it's impossible. Because he's been great. I know a bunch of fat people are disappointed because trying to make fun of Joe Biden is like praying to God. A complete waste of time. Okay, that's our show. I want to thank my guests, Benjamin Netanyahu and Pete Davidson.
Who's this Joe Biden everyone keeps talking about? Well, I was born and raised in Scranton, PA. Lifeguard by the pool's where I spent my days. Till a dude named Corn Pop, who wasn't that cool, started making trouble at the swimming pool. So I took a chain, wrapped it around my legs. They're hairier than my other legs. Not my black kids would touch them. Come on, man. Then I got on a train and moved to D.C. Barack Obama gave a job to me. I shuffled around and sucked fingertips. Made a big speech, kissed the boy on the lips. What are you looking at? I wrote the damn bill. I hold the ladies tight and sniff all their hairs. First person American to fall up the stairs. Ran for president. I was a winner. Winner was me. Now I sit at my desk as a President. Not you know the thing. Come on, get your face out of your ears. Hey, Beneford, get in here.
You hollards, holy shit.
Where are my clothes?
Sir, I just washed your clothes. I can't physically keep them on your body.
No. We've got a ghost in the White House. I better declare a national emergency.
How about I just find you some new clothes?
You're a good friend, Beneford. Come here, I need to tell you something.
I'm good here, sir.
Come sit on my lap.
I'd rather not.
Sit on my lap! There you are. There's my little buddy. All is well. You're safe now.
I am very uncomfortable and quite sure this violates several labor laws.
Whoa, easy. Easy. Close ghosts can't get you now.
Frankly, I'm more concerned about your schmeckle, sir.
I'm gonna tell you something. But you gotta promise to keep it a secret.
I do not
You
promise.
drive a hard bargain, okay? I'll tell you.
Can you please put some underpants on first, sir?
There's no time. America's in crisis. Thousands of Mexican melts are overwhelming our southern border. Some as young as $1.99. The BLT movement is still in the streets, protesting the murder of Pink Floyd. And now a clothes ghost has inserted his erection into the White House.
That made absolutely no sense whatsoever.
Don't you fret, because Uncle Joe came up with a new slogan that will unite us all and bring us back from the brink.
With great hesitation, what is it, sir?
Make America great again, man.
You can't possibly be serious. Hi,
Yeah, in response to the Thomas Jefferson thing, didn't he he might have preached all that, but didn't he kill more people, more Indians than any other president, if I'm not mistaken? I believe that was that.
I'm Caitlyn Jenner, future governess of California. A place once as beautiful as Kylie's second face has now turned into the Rob Kardashian of America. Nah. I'm the only candidate who has experience getting rid of a useless dick with salt and pepper hair. Give me the chance to do that again. I'm Caitlyn Jenner, and I approve this message, baby.
Sir, how on earth is it possible that you don't know that MAGA is Trump's slogan?
What are you talking about? I came up with it this morning. Popped into my head like a jewel. America's gonna take it what it is and make it great again.
Sir, I can't recommend strongly enough that you never mention this ever again to any other human being for the rest of your natural life.
Well, I already ordered them. Specially made in China. One for every man, woman, and transgender. Cost $40 billion. But it includes shipping and handling.
Hey, Dad, I'm home.
Hey, it's my little boy Hunty.
Dad, I need money for a new laptop.
This is the third laptop this month. How many laps you got?
Well, when I was in China setting up the hat deal, I was on the train with my laptop, and this guy comes up to me holding a baby, and he goes, "Give me your laptop, or I'm gonna throw this baby really far." And he was gonna do it, Dad, for real. You could tell from his eyes. So I gave him my laptop.
Well, you did what you had to do, son. You're a hero.
Sir, I hate to interrupt this meeting of the minds, but you need to inquire about a refund for these hats as soon as possible.
Is there a problem with the hats, Dad?
Yeah, Beneford seems to think it's the last guy's slogan.
Yeah, it is.
It is? Well, why didn't you tell me, champ?
I was on crack.
And finally, new rule. It's been 100 days and still nothing to make fun of about Joe Biden. In fact, I'm so confident that I, Bill Maher, do solemnly swear that if anyone can make fun of Joe Biden, I will put his penis inside my mouth. Okay, that's our show. I want to thank my guests, Alan Greenspan and Tiffany Haddish. I'll be in Baltimore this Thursday through Saturday at Magoobies.
My God, we're facing the most hilarious crisis in American history. If this hat story gets out, I'll be a laughing stork, and Bill Blark will look like a fool. Beneford, we have to stop these hats.
Sir, once again, I am just the butler.
Huh?
I'm the butler. What you're asking
What?
is way above my pay grade.
Hey,
This
what?
Sunday, AOC's on CBS for the live document hearings.
Mr. Zuckerberg, I'm having trouble understanding where you put all our data.
Crisis.
She looks like an angel.
Congresswoman, I don't think you know how data works.
Did you spend all our data?
And she sounds like a really smart bartender.
Let the record show that Mr. Zuckerberg tried to murder me.
Hey, Dad, who is that girl?
Huh?
She was like a part-time bartender when she fucking worked for the Clinton administration or the fucking... She's not a bartender. Fuck you.
That's Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, also known as AOC. She's what my people would call a turboyenta.
Wait, did you fuck her?
Excuse me?
Did you fuck her, you piece of shit?
Next time on the French Prince of Delsey.
Hey, you're the girl from my boner.
Hey, so when you...
Jesus. All right, well, that's entertaining, right? Oh my goodness. Slow down. Giving me anxiety. Trying to read all these damn. All right. Try not to have anxiety. Okay. Keep smoking, Todd. So I can't think, I guess. Oh my god, dude, seriously. All right. This was a 7-minute clip from Jon Stewart, and John's doing a lot better stuff nowadays. I'm getting anxiety reading all this stuff, so it's too much to read and try to think too. So I am going to move on to John talking to somebody about oil company. That's as far as we watched almost all of it. And I am going to say it like this: oil companies are making record profits while they raise the prices right now. They're not struggling for profits. They're making record profits. They are not doing anything. They're giving themselves raises, and they're not doing anything close to the speed that we need them to do it to actually stop their lying and deceit. So what we need to do as a society is say from the 70s to the 90s, you deceived us. You didn't lie to us. You purposely deceived us, and I guess you lied to us at every turn. So we need to regain the money that you made from the 70s to the 90s. Go back into those fucking CEO funds that have hundreds of $1 millions stashed away for generational wealth, and take that fucking money back and put it into green investments. And if we do that, if we go back and say, you know what, we know you guys figured out that climate change was real in the 70s, but you lied to us for 20 to 30 years, and we take and counter-sue them, retroactively sue them for all those years they lied to us, and take that money and turn it into green projects, then maybe we'll survive as a planet. And so no, capitalism is not going to do it. Oil companies are not going to do it. The government's slow regulations are not going to do it. But that's what we need to do. We need to, I don't know, chop their heads off as the 99%. And say, you know what, no, the planet is more important than your profits, and you've been lying to us for a decade, so now we're going to take your profits back. And put it and save the planet from all the fucking harm that you did. The harm you've done in Louisiana, the harm you've done on these pipelines, the harm you've done refining these oils, putting plastic on the planet, putting plastic in our fish, when we could have been having green energy, we could have been having green gas and oil and not harming our planet. We could have been using green, hemp or plant-based plastics that biodegrade and actually feed wildlife. We could have been doing better for our planet. Instead, we did horrible for 40, 50 years, and 30 of those years we knew that we could have been doing better. That's why we should sue them. That's why we need to change everything. Fucking lying-ass companies. Well, me talking lost everybody. Okay. Let's move on. I got my classic rant before we go to the progressive takedown. So I wanted to show a classic clip once in a while. Try every day, but I forget often because there's so much to get to. So this is a classic TYT clip. Yeah, I'm going to bring up the enemy. TYT, the enemy. And this is Wes Clark Jr. He was a general's son. He was in the military himself. He's a political commentary for years, an activist for years. So he's a vet, an activist. He went a little off the Christian deep edge for a while, but he used to be great. He's come back to pretty solid on political issues, but let's check him out.
Name names. Who looks like a pencil neck dweeb?
I'm not going to name specific names and make enemies for myself
rant.
like that. This is just a general call.
I see. So, all right.
All right, I'll tell you. Every guy that worked on my dad's campaign that went on TV, what's his name? Fabiani's consultant company.
I
can't remember. There was this total jackass we had who was like head of communications, whose name for some reason is just slipping me right now. But
okay,
Exhibit A, and he ran Gores and he ran Carries. Chris Lahane, that's his name.
Yeah, okay, that's
You
right.
ever seen a picture of the guy?
No.
You ever seen him on TV?
No.
He's been a spokesman for Gore, for Kerry. He was for my dad because people hire him because he's a consultant. He must know what he's talking about. You put him on TV and you couldn't look like less of a man than this guy, or sound like less of a man.
All right, all of a sudden you're saying fascinating stuff. So why did your dad hire him?
Because he didn't know.
Right.
He didn't know any better. He's like comes out of the army and he's, oh yeah, these guys have won all these campaigns. They know what they're talking about. And like, shit, I don't know any of this stuff. We didn't even have a campaign manager, dude. Like the first 6 months of it.
Okay, look, this is a really interesting discussion. So your dad decides, hey, listen, this country's going to hell in a handbasket, right? I got to just jump in here and try to do something, right? So when he starts that process, who does he talk to first that suggests the Chris Lahanes of the world? That says, hey, if you want to win, because what's happening is, and what a lot of people think, whether it's the bloggers, the mainstream media, or people who call on the show, is these Democrat consultants are killing us, right?
They're killing us.
And so, who suggested the Democratic consultants that you then eventually thought, my God, these guys don't know what they're doing?
I don't know which guys suggested them to him at all.
I just want to know the process. I don't know. I don't care about the
Well,
names.
what happens is you're putting the campaign together, and your big donors come in. They're like, "Look, we're going to give you this money, but if we're going to give you this money, we need to know like who these people are that you're going to hire to put the message out, and we need to make sure they're successful, and they've got a track record and everything else. And of course, when it comes to hiring these people, you have to hire someone with experience. And if you've never worked in politics before, their experience looks a lot better than someone from like the quote unquote grassroots from the internet who has no experience."
I see what you're saying. The problem is all the people who have experience in the Democratic consultant world are people who've worked on the Dukakis campaign and the...
It says classic rant. I'm still waiting for the classic rant part. I've heard him go on some rants before, so if this is the classic rant, I would expect it to be pretty solid because I've heard him go pretty wild before. Where is it here, huh?
The Kerry campaign, the
Fucking
Gore
TYT.
campaign, and all these campaigns that have gotten run over. And they're the ones that have experience. But what a lot of people don't realize, and I talked about this with some people in Washington, is those guys do have, quote-unquote, winning track records that wind up deceiving people because they say, hey, listen, this guy's run Ted Kennedy's campaign for the last 30 years, and Ted Kennedy keeps winning, right?
Yeah.
And they got these established guys that keep on winning, but that really aren't taking any chances. And that really, it's not like, oh, look.
But here's the sick thing, and this is what's wrong with the politics in general in the country is, man, everybody knew. Like, everything you're hearing about in the press today that suddenly, like John Kerry or Hillary Clinton is outraged about, they knew about all the shit back in 2004.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody did. And they go, oh, we just found out. That's BS. They all knew about it. Everybody's known about it. Everybody knew the president lied. Everybody. They just didn't say anything because they're like, I don't want to be called, like, a traitor. Or I don't want people to, not like me.
See, Wes has just made his 18th interesting point in a row. And obviously when we say his dad, for those of you who weren't tuned in the beginning of the segment, Wesley Clark, of course, ran for president. Wes, I think you're so right about the politicians knowing. It's not just the Democrats, the Republicans, too.
Oh,
that's
absolutely.
And that's
Look,
why.
let me tell you something about John. Like, I support the President McCain.
Exactly what I
Okay,
was
let
gonna
me
say.
give you the inside story on this one. Okay, at the same time Davos is going on in Switzerland, at the same time you're having the floods and all the problems with Katrina. John McCain is there, and he's going around telling everybody in the room, and this is according to my parents who are at the same thing, he's going, oh yeah, the president's a miserable leader. It's a total example of what a failure of leadership he is, yada, yada, yada.
That's
3 months
when,
later, he's like,
2004?
no, this was like six months ago.
Uh-huh.
2 months ago, he goes to like that, straw poll primary. He goes, I stand by the president. I support the president. John McCain is, that's what drives me nuts is the press corps always going, John McCain's a maverick. Man, John McCain is George Bush without Jesus Christ. That's all he is. That's it. He's not as religious, but he's just as hardcore right.
I wouldn't call that a classic rant. Fuck you, TYT. I've seen so much better from Wesley Clark Jr., and that was ungratifying. Just like TYT, ungratifying. Unnecessary. That didn't just left a bad taste in my mouth. Everything about that was not right. All right, damn it, I can't go on to the takedown yet. That wasn't good enough. Let's do something. Am I doing any Jimmy today? I don't know. I'm gonna go to the White House still. Should we do the White House? Anybody Anybody awake? Anybody not stoned and dazed off? White House or something funny? Damn it. I don't know. That left a bad taste in my mouth, guys. Honestly, like, ugh, gross. Fucking TYT, man. Just disappointing every time. Nobody cares. Everybody's too high to care. That'll happen. Alright. Fucking midnight. Usually people are joining about now. I have TYT in the background, so if anybody's looking at me, I'm going to lose everybody. Oh no, why am I doing this for myself? Alright, this is what we're going to do.
Can you stop sugar cravings?
We're going to check out
According to the
Gray Zone, talking to Representative Thomas Massey. I'm going to write down Thomas Massey so we can maybe check him out later. In a Stony Progressive day after, I usually do that. If somebody's name pops up in clips, we'll check them out the next day. Try to get some regulars up in this motherfucker. Actually, I know there's a lot of regulars. Sorry guys, just my regular rants. But let's check out the Gray Zone. I believe this is going to be Max talking to a representative, Thomas Massey. I don't know. This is a unwatched clip, so for me, if anything anything said out of the ordinary, I apologize. I mean, I asked for maturity levels on all my clips, so hopefully there's no content that's wild.
Thomas Massey, a libertarian from Kentucky, was one of just 3 members of Congress to vote against a resolution declaring that the U.S. stands fervently behind the Ukrainian people. For his lone stance, Massey was quickly branded a friend to Russia.
All right, I'm already liking the guy. He's a libertarian in Congress. That was enough for me to like him. I'm not even going to probably do a Stony takedown. I might do a review or I don't know. But a libertarian I'm not going to take down. We'll see if there's any bad names I can maybe do a counteract act. Show you how libertarians look better on paper than Republicans, or even libertarians look better. I don't know. We can do a lot of different things. And yeah. Looks like YouTube is completely taking me down, so let me know if you can see me. On my end, I can't see me. Anyway, if you're on YouTube, just let me say you can see me, because on my side it shows I am not on somehow. But I'm going to keep going because Twitch is working fine.
Subjected to a wave of attacks. On March 8th, with Congress set to vote on a massive package of weapons to Ukraine and NATO, I asked Massey about his vote and his stand against the drive for military escalation.
Representative Thomas Massey, you've been coming under attack for your pretty much lone vote, along with 2 others, on the resolution supporting Ukraine. What was the motive behind your vote?
Well, first of all, I support the right of the Ukrainian people to determine their destiny, to have a sovereign country free from invasion. But this bill, I feel like, was counter to the purposes of supporting the people of Ukraine. First of all, the bill calls for basically overthrowing the government of Belarus. I mean, why should that be in a resolution supporting the Ukrainian people? Why should we expand this conflict to Belarus? Yes, it's true that Russia's come through Belarus, but did they have much say in it? And so that shouldn't have been in the resolution. But probably the most troubling part of this resolution was it called for open-ended military assistance. It didn't say only equipment. It didn't say that there wouldn't be a no-fly zone. I mean, because people who are calling for no-fly zone voted for that resolution, I have to assume that resolution would support such a thing the way that it was worded, or even boots on the ground, which we should never have there.
No-fly zone would be a recipe for conventional war.
Well, a no-fly zone would mean American pilots shooting down Russian pilots in jets. And the next step, I mean, there aren't many escalations above that, but certainly it leads to, and if it weren't an American plane, it would be a NATO plane. And now that country would be the target of Russia, presumably, probably a missile launch. that would drag 20 other countries into the conflict, expanding this globally. This is not a global conflict at the time, and we should do everything we can to keep it localized and not become a global crisis.
Something like 73% of Americans support a no-fly zone. I don't think they understand what it means, the implications, but what is your sense inside that building? Are we edging closer to a conventional conflict with a nuclear armed power in Russia?
Well, I hope we're not edging closer, but there's a vote to send more money to Ukraine and to our NATO allies, in fact, to finance troops in Eastern Europe. Two things can't simultaneously be true. The news reports that are coming back would lead you to believe that Russia's getting crushed. They're being devastated by Ukraine and Ukraine alone. It can't be a fact that Russia's a paper tiger and they're being destroyed by Ukrainian army and National Guard. And at the same time, we need to send billions of dollars more in weapons and troops to NATO to subsidize the defense of socialist countries. I mean, that should be polled. American people, we should ask the American people, do you think with $30 trillion of debt that you should be funding the defense of socialist countries in Europe?
You mean like subsidizing the social democracy of Germany or the Western European countries? But the Eastern European countries certainly are not socialist. I mean, this seems to be a geopolitical play. And, the arms industry obviously is benefiting. How do the American people benefit from this when gas prices are going up in light of the Russian oil ban? How does the American working class benefit?
Well, there's two kinds of sanctions. There are those that are meaningless. For instance, Netflix on their own has decided to cancel subscription. It's in Russia.
Might be a good thing. I don't know.
It might be good for the Russians, but in all honesty, it was their glimpse into the Western world and how capitalism works and how we live. And so they're shutting that off. They probably shut it off because the credit cards were shut off and they probably weren't getting any money. So there's the virtue signaling kind of sanctions that Biden and some private companies have undertaken. And then there are the crippling sanctions. Okay, but who are they crippling? They're not crippling Putin per se. He'll find a market for his oil. They're crippling the people here in this country. First of all, we're going to see higher prices. The low income people are being pinched the most by inflation. We've got gasoline is about to go to $5 a gallon at the pump, and it's not going to stop there. So, and there are lots of other things we bring from Russia, like fertilizer, over $1 billion. Try not putting $1 billion of fertilizer on the fields in America this year and see what that does to food prices and supply chain issues. So if you think all of these things through, there's two kinds of sanctions. The sanctions that would cripple Russia, but it would cripple us as well. It's kind of mutually assured sanctions, economic devastation.
I mean, some people are saying that this is deliberate. I mean, it's an attack on the part of the American working class that, a lot of them, like I was just with the trucker convoy, they don't support the Democrats. I mean, do you think there are any elements that actually benefit from this? I mean, certainly the domestic oil, LNG, oil producers are benefiting from the higher prices, collapse of Nord Stream 2.
No, I don't think, I don't see any sinister plot from, domestic suppliers of energy. Certainly they're going to benefit from higher prices, but that's the signal that they need to see in order to increase production. And when that does, the prices will settle down. I do think that there are people inside of this building who are taking advantage of this crisis. I mean, you can go back and find in interviews, they say they want higher prices of gasoline. They think that will push people into alternative energy, which frankly isn't economical right now. So I don't know that it's architected, but there's certainly people taking advantage of this crisis. If you read the resolution, the very resolution that I voted against, it's got something in there that Republicans thought they were clever that they got in there. It said that we're going to be more energy independent. This is a call to energy independence in America, but it doesn't say how we're going to get there. And it doesn't say that we're going to increase domestic production of oil and gas, which means what that resolution really says is we're going to use this to go use unreliable alternate sources of energy,
which the Transportation Department has been pushing relentlessly. But what do you think of the talking point that Americans need to pay higher gas prices and suffer more inflation as the cost of freedom, supporting the supposed freedom of Ukraine? This is what we're hearing from the Biden administration's proxies.
Well, I don't know how that polls for Joe Biden, but I don't think American people are buying it. I don't think they're believing it. Yes, he would like to blame the massive inflation and his own domestic energy policies. He'd like to take blame from that and put it on Putin and the war by establishing that connection. But I don't think people are buying it. Look, we've spent $7 trillion in here on COVID. We've paid people not to work. We've paid governors to cripple their own economies. And now that those chickens are coming home to roost, and that's plus Biden's domestic energy policy. That's what we're seeing. On top of that will be, if he does in fact sanction Russia, we'll see higher energy prices. But look, that's going to go into the global supply of oil. Somebody else is going to buy that. It may, in fact, end up here after it changes hands. It's not really going to reduce how much oil that Russia sells, at least not in the medium to long term.
Are you able to form any coalition or partnership with the progressives in Congress against escalating this war? Ilhan Omar just came out against, I believe, the Russian oil ban.
I would have hoped to get some to vote against that resolution, but we didn't get any. I thought that the true progressives were against war, and I have formed coalitions with them in the past and opposing the war in Afghanistan, for instance, and getting that to come to an end. I haven't seen it yet. I don't know when we'll see it. I have seen them become strong supporters of the right to keep and bear arms, though, in Ukraine at least. So I'm encouraged by that coalition.
Yeah, I mean, it just...
Oh, so bad. So bad. Well, I think I'm going to go ahead and do Jen today. I have 2 Jen clips to catch up on. Let's do the White House before we do the political takedown. See if we can get a few more people. I usually stream at midnight. For the few of you that are still here, who joined us early, looks like I've gone down a bit. So I usually stream at midnight. Hopefully we'll get some regulars coming in. And let's do the White House into the Stony Progressive takedown. Let's start with yesterday's before we go to today's.
What we're saying right now is there is a war. We're asking them to go use the approved permits, use the unused space, and go get more supply out of the ground in our own country.
Okay, and then just a quick yes or no, because there's a lot of gray area here.
Oh.
Is a restart of the Keystone XL construction completely off the table as long as Joe Biden is president?
Well, why don't you tell me what that would help address?
I'm asking you if it is an option. You guys say all options are on the table. Is restarting Keystone construction one of them?
If we're trying to bring about more supply, that does not address any problem.
It's supply from Canada, a friendly ally, instead of Saudi Arabia.
That's already
or Iran.
we're already getting that oil, Peter. It's the pipeline is just a delivery mechanism. It is not an oil field. So it does not provide more supply into the system. It does not address.
Is it possible that Joe Biden will ever say, you
There's-
guys can go ahead with construction of Keystone XL?
There's no plans for that, and it would not address any of the problems we're having currently. Go ahead. And we're going to have to wrap up soon, but we'll try to get to me. Go ahead.
Can you help us understand what exactly would have transpired for the Polish government to publicly propose this idea of getting the fighter jets to Ukraine that the U.S. would then publicly reject? Was there at any point a breakdown in communication between the two countries?
Well, I think as our Undersecretary of State, Tori Newland, testified yesterday, we were not made aware of their plans to make that announcement yesterday. So I wouldn't call that a breakdown, and I guess it's a temporary breakdown in communication, but we have a strong and abiding relationship with Poland. The President spoke with President Duda.
Thanks, Jen. I have 2 questions. First, about the Florida bill that just passed, restricting the speaking about of homosexuality and gender identity up to 3rd grade. And then I have a question about surveillance matters that have been in the news. Regarding the Florida bill, in 1994, when many of us in this room were in school, President Biden actually voted for a much broader restriction that banned federal funds from being used for, quote, the promotion of homosexuality as a positive lifestyle alternative. Why did he do that, and can you describe how his thinking has evolved over the years?
Well, I think that you have seen the President speak passionately about his view that a bill like this, a bill that would discriminate against families, against kids, put these kids in a position of not getting the support they need at a time where that's exactly what they need, is discriminatory. It's a form of bullying. It is horrific. I mean, the president has spoken to that. In terms of his views and comments from 25 years ago, I think the most important question now is why are Florida leaders deciding they need to discriminate against kids who are members of the LGBTQI community? What prompts them to do that? Is it meanness? Is it wanting to make kids have more difficult times in school, in their communities? I would pose that question to them, and we can talk about it more tomorrow if you get an answer.
Was there a reason you supported the same policy, though, in the 90s when we were all in school?
I think what's important to note here is how outspoken the president has been against discrimination.
It's not important to note how bad he was in the past, how shitty he was. You know, it's not that... The 90s wasn't that so freaking close-minded, honestly. Like, I don't know, like, maybe politics were, but real life people weren't so fucking close-minded. And he was a dick then, he's a dick now, and that's the point this person's trying to make, and you're just ignorant by not seeing it.
Against kids, against members of the LGBTQI plus community, and what we're looking at here is a bill that would propagate misinformed, hateful policies and impact children.
It's a horrible bill.
That's the question I hope maybe you...
But we're just trying to say how bad the president has been in the past. And just because it's... Seriously.
Impose that to some of the leaders in Florida. Maybe they'll return your phone calls, and I'll look forward to having that conversation with you.
Well, perhaps Chris could follow up afterwards, but I'd like to ask about the surveillance matters as well.
Sure.
Senators Wyden and Heinrich, who are Democrats, recently alleged that the CIA is conducting a mass surveillance program that implicates American data and that it's outside of the statutory bounds that people think it's within. First, could you say anything about that to reassure Americans regarding their data? And secondly, according to a recent court filing by Special Counsel Durham, there was a technology executive who was, quote, mining the Executive Office of the President's DNS traffic and other data. CISA, the Federal Agency for Cybersecurity, said in a 2020 document that DNS data can be sensitive and that's important to secure. There are competing narratives, of course, about what data was actually implicated. So could you share with us what data was implicated in this and whether the White House has any security or privacy concerns regarding this alleged review?
I have nothing further to comment on your questions. Obviously, this is an investigation. I put you in the Department of Justice, members of Congress. Obviously, we have serious respect for people's privacy in the country. Go ahead.
Obviously. So fucking condescending. I love it. Love it. Get so mad. Alright, that was the two people I wanted to see from yesterday. We're going to do the same thing for today's script, where we're going to go to the last questions first, and then I'm going to go... Actually, she started out today with just fantastic... It made me so angry. It wakes me right up. Like, I get so like, oh, alright, I'm awake. Let's do this.
Can you be a little bit more specific?
I can see if there's anything more specific I can get you. Sure.
And also following on that, since the president is already here, I mean, in Washington, D.C., the president of Colombia, Ivan Duque, and about to meet with President Biden, was there any courtesy call from the U.S. regarding this engagement with Nicolás Maduro, given the circumstances and given that President Duque has been one of the most vocal critics in the region against Nicolás Maduro?
I'm happy to check and see if there's any more details we can provide on our diplomatic engagements. I would note that our objective here and our top priority was bringing American citizens home. Typically, those conversations and the briefing out of them happens in a very, very small circle. And so I would just note that, but I will see if there's more detail we can provide.
If I may, is there any intention to declare Colombia as a principal extra NATO ally after the meeting with the president or even prior to?
Sure. Let's let the meeting happen. We will have a readout of the meeting after the meeting, and I'm sure there will be some developments coming out of it. Go ahead.
Can I follow up on
we're going to the beginning now. That was that person. Let's start out from the... Oh, let's go right from the beginning. Just here. Click, click, click. We'll walk in. We'll say hi. We start out so great today. It made me so happy. I watched that whole thing in fast forward, obviously, because if I don't watch it live, I watch it fast forward.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, everybody. Let's get high. Don't forget your
Okay.
towel.
I don't want to disappoint you, but I have no toppers today. Sorry to disappoint all of you. Darlene, would you like to kick us off?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I wanted to follow up on your tweet yesterday about being on the lookout for Russia to use chemical or biological weapons in Ukraine and possibly creating false flag operations to use them. What is the evidence to back that up beyond what you said in the tweet that it's a pattern from Russia? Is there more to this than it just being a pattern for them?
Well, they have a large biological and chemical weapons program. So it's a pattern, but they also have the capacity. Well, I'm not going to get into specific intelligence. We look at all of those factors. And we also know, and one of the main issue that prompted my Twitter thread yesterday was that Russia has a history also of inventing outright lies like this, which is the suggestion that the United States has a chemical and biological weapons program, or Ukraine does, that they're operating. Russia is the country that has a chemical and biological weapons program.
No.
So the objective was to make clear the inaccuracy of the information, the misinformation they're trying to put out, and make clear to the world that they not only have the capacity, they have a history of using chemical and biological weapons, and that in this moment we should have our eyes open for that possibility.
Would use of chemical or biological weapons be a red line for the president in terms of direct U.S. involvement in the war over there?
We are directly involved. We are providing $1 billion in security assistance. We are the largest provider of that. We are providing humanity. With the U.S. military going and engaging in Ukraine and fighting a war against Russia, we don't have any intention to do that. Go ahead. Oh, go ahead, Darlene. Go ahead. Last one.
One other one. The Defense Intelligence Agency, the director, told Congress today that his agency underestimated the Ukrainian military's preparedness and will to fight. Is that the assessment? Does the White House share that assessment?
We do, and I think, Darlene, the world does. I mean, I think when we saw the preparations of President Putin and the Russian military on the borders of Ukraine, we saw the power of the Russian military, we saw the intentions of President Putin, and...
Hey, I'm Dave. I've been using
They can even have commercials. It's weird. I wanted to do one more video from the White House. What just happened?
The intentions of...
Not that I want to listen to her all day, but... Damn it. Should have been right there. Kamala did something today that was just so fun and fascinating, and now I gotta dig for it. Come on, guys. I don't want to dig for it. I don't have time to dig for it. I have time to dig for it. Shit. Alright. Let's move on. I was gonna do the Kamala clip, but we all know how cringe she is, right? We don't need to actually look at her. We don't need to watch her. We all know she's cringe as shit. I don't need to do that today. And, yeah, the White House has dropped me down to 0 again, so that's funny. Alright. So let's go to our takedown today. Mark Kelly, he is a Democratic Party senator from the state of Arizona. He was elected in 2020 as a special election, and so he already has another election coming up. Only 2 years in seat, and he gets to go for a re-election. So special election, took a seat from the Republican, typically a Republican seat, very red state, and has a lot of Republicans primarying the area. For current polls, I just checked today, the current poll shows Mark Brnovich as the front runner, although there's 3 to 4 people that could be called front runners at any given time and point. So we will take a look at Mark today. Mark Kelly being the current incumbent, just elected in on a close race. Mark Kelly took this 51% to 51.2 to 48.8, so 51 to 49. Only 80,000 votes in between the two of them in the whole state. 1,700,000 to 1,600,000. So the 80,000 vote difference is not that much really in a big state like that. A lot of independent and write-in votes. So that's interesting for the state. Senate seat. It's interesting also that the Republican is not rerunning. I did not see Martha Kelly in that. Let's double check. No, she is not going for the rerun. Even though Martha McSally, even though she only lost by a percent or so, she's not currently running in the Republican primary. So there's interesting information. Always fun to read their key messages before we look at their money. It's kind of an ironic twist to life, isn't it? When we look at what they have to say and then we look where they actually get their money from. So this is this is the incumbent Mark. Mark Kelly said his experience in the Navy and as an astronaut informed his desire to prioritize solving problems in a time of crisis over partisan politics. Kelly said he would work to ensure people with pre-existing conditions had access to health care. I fucking hate that. Access. Fuck you. Create a public insurance option and lower prescription drug costs. Access to health care. Fuck you when you say that. That's so... I hate that. Access. If you can't afford it, then ha ha ha. There's so many people that fall in those in-between gaps where they're above... They make more than what you can afford, but they live in a place that they still can't afford it. That's a bullshit term. His third key message. Kelly said he would strengthen the economy and create jobs by opposing tax breaks for super wealthy and large corporations and investing in infrastructure and research and development. I'm going to go ahead and say that he probably has some research and development money in there, huh? That's always the case. All right, so their income, their money. Where do they get their money from? Holy fucking hell. Say what now? 126 million? I'm sorry, what? What? 126 million raised? 107 million spent. That is disgusting. That isn't 2 election cycles, people. That is 50 million plus. That's 60 million plus in each election cycle. That's a lot of money. There's no way you're not beholden when you're getting 60 million in an election cycle. There's no way you're not beholden to corporate overlords. There's zero chance. There's fucking no chance. Oh, good God, of course. So they want to spend money in research and development, and Google is one of their top. Google and the Democracy Engine, which is a Democratic PAC. Alphabet Inc. So Google is one of your biggest contributors, and you want to put money into development and research. Go figure. All right, let's check out the whole list here, because that's a lot of money. That's big money. That's 100. I can't even. I've never seen a number that big in a freaking 3-year person. Kaiser Permanente, Apple Inc., IBM, Raytheon Technologies, Meta. Oh my God, it's all the worst. Walt Disney, Amazon, Microsoft, again, Google, and just a massive amount of money. I mean, that is 126 million in the 3 years they've been in politics. That's too much, guys. That's bought and paid for by our corporations. Oh my goodness, that's more than wow. That's a lot of money from corporations. That's insane. That's a lot.
Right now, the national average for a gallon of gas.
This is the most recent video I can find from him.
Is almost $1 more than it was a year ago. But Senator Mark Kelly says he has a plan to cut the price by at least a bit.
Elliot Polikoff is live in our newsroom tonight to explain how it would work, what it would cost.
I don't know if that's a dig at me or or fun with me, but that's fucking hilarious. Let he who's out fast without sin cast the first stone. It's a stoning joke? Yes. Thank you. I'm laughing. That was yes, that was a pun. Pun right at us.
Just how much money we'd be saving at the pump, Elliot.
Yeah, Jared and Yetta, Mark Kelly, and New Hampshire Senator Maggie Hassan, they're trying to suspend the 18.4-cent federal gas tax as part of their Gas Prices Relief Act. This suspension will only last through the end of the year, but Kelly's hoping if passed, this bill would at least put a little less of a strain on families' finances.
Everything adds up, so any little bit helps.
Glendale resident Dana Comstock couldn't even keep a straight face when I asked her about gas prices.
You feel like gas prices are pretty crazy high right now?
Yeah, of course, man. Yeah, super hot.
The price of gas is far from the only thing on the rise. But Senator Mark Kelly thinks his Gas Prices Relief Act is a good place to start when it comes to saving Arizonans some money.
This is one thing we can do. This legislation can reduce the cost to families for gasoline, allow them to put that money towards other things they need.
According to AAA, Arizonans spent an average of $3.65 a gallon on gas last year, more than all but 6 other states.
I'm not used to spending over $30 to fill my tank, so pushing the 50 and 60 is a little excessive. That money could go elsewhere for me, food, shopping.
In addition to the 18.4 cents per gallon federal gas tax being suspended through the end of the year, Kelly's proposed bill would require the Secretary of the Treasury to make sure Arizonans are the ones benefiting from any savings, not oil and gas companies. But Arizona State Supply Chain Management Professor Hitendra.
He's talking about, so I'm reading the bottom here, he's talking about lifting the 18 cents federal tax. The 18 cents isn't going to put a massive ding into, that's not going to do anything. Why are we even doing a segment on it, really? Come on. Whatever the hell news station this is. CBS Arizona. CBS Arizona. Come on, guys.
Brady doesn't expect Arizonans or Arizona's economy to see much of a difference if Kelly's bill passes.
Exactly.
They wanted to do something to show that we understand your pain. This is very small. Consumers may not even notice this price drop of 18 cents. We need something bigger.
Chetarady says there needs to be more attention focused on a solution that deals with the decreasing supply of gas, and that makes an impact beyond this year.
If this thing comes back and you add on another 18 cents to the price, there is a potential of a backlash from the consumer.
And at least for Avondale resident Sade Trumbull, when it comes to Kelly's bill, it's not a question of if the tax would return in 2023, but when.
It's nice for the moment, but it's just going to go right back up, so it won't make that big of a difference for me.
This isn't the first time that politicians have tried to suspend the federal tax. John McCain actually tried to do it years ago, but historically, this kind of proposed legislation, it hasn't had much success in terms of getting passed by the House or the Senate. Live in the newsroom, Elliot Polikoff, Arizona's Family.
All right, well, that was, and they go to a Google commercial, of course. He was owned by Google and Microsoft and all of them, just all of them. That was so much money, Jesus, man. All right, so this is, this is the Senate race 2022. You can see how much they all make, and he has, again, way more than most people. Where's the here, candidates? So you can see that he has currently 26 million just this year, and so you got the biggest Republican is 8.5 million. Another one with 2.5, 1.8, 900,000, 200,000. So he is by far, I mean, he's trying to buy this election, and I'm guessing he's only got 26 million this year. That means he has 100 million in his first campaign. That's insane. 100 million in one campaign cycle, guys. That's a lot of money. And the next one's 8.5 million right now. So, in the 8.5 million, and 8 million was just the guy self-financing. So that means he's just putting 8 million down. He doesn't have to keep that in. So if his cash on hand is almost $6 million, that means he can take that $6 million back. He doesn't have to leave it in his campaign finance when you self-fund like that, and you can actually get some of it like tax rebated and stuff like that too. So it's a whole little thing that they do. But where was the guy we were going to talk about? We're going to talk about the other Mark because he is currently the front runner. Shit. All right. So Mark Kelly, we talked about him. And then Mark Brunovich, I'm guessing, is the other front runner. He has only about $1 million, so he's the front runner, and he's the third. He's about 1.8 million. So he was the front runner, but he's the third on income as far as collected in. So I don't know. Again, like the state is very close. When they say front runner, they're talking 3 people that are within 3%, 4% of each other. So it's still a very close election, and you still have a little. It's about that primary time, guys. So that's why we're doing this. It is around that primary time. Start looking up your primaries. Maybe we should start doing that too. But very small, and he is mostly funded by the small time. Like I said, he doesn't have a lot of money, so he's mostly funded by small time businesses. So that doesn't give us a lot, which is a good thing. The more information you have on them, that usually means the more corrupt they are. So that starts off well. Better than the corporate bought Democrat, of course. But wow, that's just so much money that guy got. Mark Kelly, huh? I do have a clip on good old Mark Brunovich. So this is his most recent clip. It was from November. Let's hear him.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for pleading United Firefighter Association. I'll be here after to ask any other questions. That's an inappropriate question.
It's not an inappropriate question. This is the thing, Dennis. I will tell everyone here. I believe very strongly in the privacy of our medical and health information, and so my health information is my own information. I would guess I would have. Dennis, have you had an STD? No, I mean, no, seriously, if we're going to start talking about people's personal health information, I mean, the point is that no government, it's, well, you know, it's, if you listen, Bram, to the argument, it's funny, Judge Liberti brought up this point. In the 70s and 80s, there was an outbreak, and if you accept the notion that the federal government, for public health reasons, can mandate you to do something or not do something, then does that mean if there was an STD outbreak or health outbreaks in the 70s and 80s, could they tell you that if you're a government contractor or an employee that has a contract with the government, that you can't engage in intercourse with other human beings? I mean, that literally is a question the federal judge asked. So it's not a ridiculous question. The question should be, once you allow or cede this authority to the federal government, where does it stop? And my health information is my own health information, Dennis. Thank you very much. Thank you
so much. Thank you so much.
Wow, he's a dick. Oh, man. Wow. I'm going to say again, Republican and Democrat. Look, you guys, hey, in Arizona, it looks like you guys had a lot of really good third-party options. You have a lot of opportunities to go in a different direction. So take those opportunities, check them out. And I'm going to look up when primaries are for tomorrow. I have the day off tomorrow. I wasn't sure what kind of stream to do. Like I said, on Twitch, I will be doing a dog hiking video during the middle of the day. I'm going to join you guys for a little while on my hike, if I have good reception up there. You can check out the puppies, my puppy and his buddy. And yeah, that's a first-time thing. And then I will be doing the same old political Friday night yoga while listening and watching clips. Let's check this out. I gotta take a second here, but I'll be right back.
Right, sports are often used as a distraction from large sociopolitical issues.
The many ways billionaires evade
taxes. Point of how the distraction is contributing to that problem. Right. Remember, the Black Lives Matter movement didn't come to become a mainstream topic until football player Colin Kaepernick made it one. Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Fork Full of Noodles. Before we get into this episode, I want to tell you guys about some really awesome virtual shows coming up and really awesome live in-person shows coming up as well. If you enjoy these podcast episodes, if you enjoy the Fork Full of Noodles, I write, produce, and record them on the last Thursday of each and every month. The last Thursday of each and every month. It's a whole new show, and you can be in the virtual audience via Zoom every single month. Tickets are available for these shows right now. I'm also producing virtual stand-up comedy shows where I work on new material, tell stories from the road, tell stories from my life. That'll eventually become material that you'll see me perform live on in-person shows. So if you want to come kind of see the process and enjoy a more casual, laid-back stand-up comedy show via Zoom in a virtual setting, you can be anywhere in the world for these virtual shows. Come check those shows out. Those ticket links are available on my website at krishmohanhaha.com. It's KRISHMOHANHAHA.com. I'm also going to be on the road with Ron Placone for a week and a half, 2 weeks, somewhere around there in April, from April 16th through the 25th. On the road with Ron Placone. We're coming to Pittsburgh, Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, Burlington, Portland, Maine, Boston, Massachusetts, and New York City. So if you're in those cities or in...
I just got so disappointed. I want to see that show. I've seen Chris. He's hilarious. I've not seen Ron yet. But I do not want to go to any of those cities in April. I am already I'm sitting here chilly as shit in freaking Florida right now, guys. Come on. I'm not going to fucking north. In April?
Those areas, please do come hang out with us. Grab your tickets. Again, you can go directly to my website, which is krishmohanhaha.com. It's KRISHMOHANHAHA.com. I hope to see some of you guys there. And while you're on my website, you can check out my stand-up comedy albums, most of which are available to download for free. You can also make donations, one-time donations, or become sustaining members. If you make monthly contributions, you get a ton of bonus stuff, which includes free tickets to both in-person shows and virtual shows as well, plus bonus stand-up comedy and storytelling content, and a bunch of other really cool surprises. So check that out, and you can also sign up for my email list, and that's important because I'm pulling back from how much I'm posting on social media. I started just kind of automatically doing that, and that has been a great help to my mental health and has helped me focus more on my writing, has helped me focus more on rebuilding my personal relationships and improving not just my mental health, but also my physical health as well, because I can concentrate a little bit more on that. So the email list is a really, really great way to keep up to date on what I'm doing. Email me back about what you think about a particular piece or so on and so forth. So I hope you do that. Again, go to my website, krishmohanhaha.com. It's KRISHMOHANHAHA.com. Thank you guys so much, and now on to the episode. Now, the Pandora Papers and the Panama Papers expose the use of tax havens to illegally hide money and evade taxes by the ultra-wealthy. But there are a few names missing from that list. Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, and other American billionaires were missing from the papers. And look, that's not because these guys are upstanding citizens that have given back to the society that built them.
Nope.
No, it's because they've benefited from the corrupt and very legal tax evasion system in America. In America, the average working class person who makes $70,000 a year pays a tax rate of 14%. And if you make over $600,000 a year, your tax rate is 37%. So if you're a billionaire, you'd pay 37% of your income to taxes, which would be hundreds of millions of dollars per billionaire pumped back into social programs, infrastructure, and yes, some of it will definitely have to go into whatever is keeping Nancy Pelosi together. It's a lot. I feel like it's a lot of clothespins. It's a huge clothespins budget for that. The top 25 wealthiest Americans increased their wealth by $401 billion between 2014 and 2018. They paid $13.6 billion in
That's
federal
insane.
taxes
That's not
over 5 years. That's a tax rate of 3.4%. And this is the
How is that a
collective
thing?
tax rate of 25 billionaires. 25 billionaires together pay 10% less in taxes than someone who makes a fraction of a percent of their income.
Jesus.
So the question you have to ask yourself with that is, do you believe that this is fair? And I'll go ahead and answer that question for you, assuming that you're a good person that believes in freedom and, you know, all that jazz. Fucking no. No, this is not fair. Why would anybody think this is fair mathematically? It doesn't even make any sense. How could you know regular math and think that this makes any fucking sense? That's crazy. Why would you come up with any other answer if you believe in math?
Jesus.
Okay, so how do people like Bezos,
Chris
Gates,
Mohan again,
and
guys.
Musk, and
Man,
everybody in that 1% category, how do they get away with paying an astronomically low tax rate while average Americans are footing their bill? On an individual level, billionaires pay a maximum of 3% in taxes, right? In 2007, Jeff Bezos paid $0 in taxes because he operated at a loss. Despite his income being reported as $46 million. He should have paid approximately $17 million in taxes that year. The losses come from side projects, deductions from interest payments, and vague categories like, quote, other expenses. Come on. I mean, come on. We all know what other expenses really means, Jeffy. Huh? It's pee porn, isn't it? That's what it is. It's definitely pee porn. We've all seen we all know how you treat your employees. We get it. You're into some weird shit, and no one's here to kink shame you, but we are going to shame you for being a piece of shit, Sid. Look, this is what we fund when we shop at Amazon. Everybody that shops at Amazon should feel very dirty. Very, very dirty about themselves. One of the ways that billionaires keep their taxes really low is by separating their income from their wealth. Wealth comes from assets like stocks, trusts, bonds, or property, right? This is why billionaires need like a summer home and a winter home and like a home for when the leaves change color and like a beach house and a condo and a fuck pad, because, you know, you don't want to make God angry with all of your other assets, but you still want to get your hands on somebody else's assets. You know what I'm saying? You guys get it?
Unfortunately, I do, yes.
You guys got it. You guys got it. Okay, so look, this is how wealth and income works, right? Out of $100 of income, the average American loses about $14 to taxes. The rest of them go to expenses, and if there's anything left, it goes into a savings. For average Americans, their assets in their wealth increases evenly with their taxes. For Jeff Bezos, his tax rate cumulatively over 12 years is 21% of his income. But most of Bezos' wealth is in stocks, and Amazon stock grew, and so his wealth is far, far, far greater than his actual taxes. Right, as you can see here, this is the difference between his income and his wealth, right? Because Bezos' wealth is tied up in that, right? He doesn't have to pay that much taxes. Americans actually paid $160 in taxes for every $100 of wealth growth, and Bezos pays $1.09 per $100 of wealth growth. And this is why it's not really a noble gesture when a billionaire says that their take-home income is $1 for the whole year. I mean, realistically, this means that they get to cash in on things like EBT, Social Security, tax rebates, and welfare payments, and continue to avoid more taxes.
Jesus.
The national income tax was instated in order to pay for the Civil War. Thanks, racists. I mean, look, at this point, no working class person should support any war effort, right? If we would have just learned to talk this out and like share our feelings, maybe income taxes and taxes in general would be way lower and utilized for things like that actually mattered, like healthcare instead of killing black and brown people across the globe. By 1918, 15% of the American families paid taxes. About 80% of it came from the top 1%. The question of what counts as income came into question in 1916 when Myrtle Macomber received her dividends from Standard Oil, which she received in the form of additional shares. She paid her taxes and then challenged it in courts, claiming that she hadn't really received any income, but had gotten wealthier. Therefore, the shares were not taxable as direct income. So the Supreme Court ruled that the stocks and bonds and et cetera, are not income and therefore cannot be taxed until there is some kind of currency involved. Macomber's decision was criticized by the father of income tax, Cornell Hull, and he warned about how this could be taken advantage of. He said, quote, "People can live upon the value of their company stock without selling it and, of course, paying for it." And this came true in the 70s when antitrust organizations stopped the breaking up of large monopolies. I mean, hell, we still see it today, right? Look at how many pies Jeff Bezos has his little claws into. Amazon sells everything from USB drives to socks to produce. Plus, he owns Whole Foods to control the grocery market. He owns Ring to control the surveillance market, and the Washington Post to control the narrative market. He also has his own delivery service, and he gets CIA and FBI contracts regularly. I mean, remember, he started out as an online book vendor and now has infiltrated every single market with ease. At this point, the only thing that people don't buy from Amazon is books. So if a large sum of their wealth is tied up in assets, how do these guys remain rich if they can't spend their assets? Simple. They take out loans. Large banks and financial institutions will approve loans for extraordinary sums of money with low interest rates, which remain untaxed, and it shows that these billionaires are operating at a loss.
Yeah, just random fucking kind of favor shit. I mean, I even see it like a much smaller scale, but as a bartender, you'll see like wedding parties, dinner parties, that kind of stuff, where average families and whatnot get just freaking raked over the coals and have to pay so much money for these stupid extras. And then if you're super rich or if you're super powerful, you'll get these massive discounts and freebies. So if you're rich and powerful, you get freebies and discounts. But if you're just an average person, you have to pay full price. You get jacked up prices even. And that's, I mean, just even, it's a much smaller scale, guys, but that's the kind of thing I see in my everyday today. And yeah, it's just a horrible system that we have. But that was Chris Mohan. He does some great stuff. That is off his Rockfin. And yeah, so give him a check. Check it out. I don't think he is on YouTube anymore. They've completely taken him down and suppressed him. And I think it was like literally the week that they repossessed his car. So he hasn't had great luck. So Chris, Krish Mohan, Mohan. Always worth a check out. Always worth a shout out. And like he said in the beginning of the clip, he doesn't do a lot right now, but what he does some good interviews. He has some good some good news digs. Let's do some news digs ourselves. This was sent to me. I'm not going to pay to read all of it, but that's why it's annoying when you send it to me. But Biden administration stalls on marijuana law reform. So this is something our wonderful administration is doing for us. They are stalling. Good for us, right? Reform of federal marijuana laws have stalled. Despite President Biden's campaign promise to decriminalize the drug, and polls show that majority of Americans support the idea. The inaction ranks supporters of looser marijuana laws because the idea has support from both Republicans and Democrats. And again, news break makes me fucking subscribe, and I'm not going to subscribe. So the person that sent this to me, thank you for trying, but I don't subscribe to random shit. I'm not going to subscribe to this. You can send me a screenshot next time. Email me screenshots is the best way for me to be able to show an article, especially if you have to pay for it, because then I can't. I'm not going to pay for it. I already pay enough for this, and I am not that well off to be paying for a bunch of articles and news. Sorry, guys. Just not going to pull that off right this minute. Just quit my job. Don't have another income at the moment. Got to stick with what I got. All right. This was from cannabis.net. I got another site sent to me. But want to check out, see what they have news going on. Cannabis.net. Looks like they have a few opinion pieces right now. 4 opinion pieces. Let's see here. These are all the last 2 days. So last 3 days they have 3 news articles, a handful of opinion pieces in their news and blog section. Let's just read some headlines, get some cannabis news for the day, right? I mean, this is the Stony Progressive. I had to read Biden and so yeah. Can cannabis protect you from the cognitive warfare battle that is currently going on? Interesting take on things. Reginald Reefer, so he's got a fake name. That's going to be the cannabis grow light battle, LEDs or HPS. That's grow yourself, give it a shot. I prefer, the heavy lights. Sorry, they suck energy, but they definitely grow a better product. Removing cannabis from the Schedule 1 list could be good and bad. No, it'd just be good. There's no bad to that. Investing in cannabis stocks shows poor judgment according to the latest Biden administration. Fuck you. That's stupid. Netflix and chill strains, 6 low THC cannabis to help you relax and chill out. Most strains help you relax and chill out. That's kind of a basic thing to say. Not very informative from the sites. Georgia looks to kickstart their medical marijuana program with 300% more cannabis licenses. Good for them. That's a solid, good for Georgia. They're a state run by very much cops. You drive through that state, you see cops. I heard Savannah's pretty chill, but Atlanta has a lot of police community problems. So I hope they're getting better. I've heard some, they've elected some people in that will hopefully do some good work, but Georgia has had those problems. Stone perspectives. Why hating on the Russians is stupid. Hate on these guys instead. How much of that can we read? Hate on Stone perspectives. Hating on the Russians is stupid. Hate on these guys instead. Let's read this a little bit, huh? In the last Stone perspectives, we analyzed what the truckers was happening in Canada. This week, it seems we're forced to talk about another global atrocity playing out in real time once again, just like the last. One of our biggest problems that we face today as a collective global is the verifying whether the quality of information being presented to us by the mainstream media is accurate or biased in a particular direction. As stoners, we have long developed a deep level of skepticism about our government and its propaganda machine known as the corporate press, who have been echoing the sentiment of government policy since their inception. We're sold the illusion that the free press holds the government accountable. The C-19 pandemic has removed the veil to reveal the old white guy in smoke and mirrors trying to influence your perception according to his ideas. Interesting enough, the old white guy looks eerily like Klaus Schwab. All right, well, yeah, maybe give Cannabis Net. That seems like a good opinion piece. Definitely worth the talk, guys. We do look at things differently when you're a pothead. You've been told that your drug was illegal your whole life, and now it's completely fine again. And yeah, so we will see how things, the future prescribes. But That's where we're at. In which states have the medical marijuana in 2022? This is a news article. How to get it, state by state. Wow, that's a good list. Thorough. Tells you how many ounces, if you're allowed to grow at home. Conditions to get the medical if you want it. Good traveling article here. Maybe I should share this one up here, huh? Shit. I don't have it set up right this second, but let's copy this one and save it to the... Yeah, let's just bookmark this motherfucker, huh? That's a good site right there. Tell you what, that's a good one. We'll save that for later. We're gonna catch up with that in another day. Ooh. Now I'm getting warm. Let's go back and check out another clip or two before we call it a night. All that reading, I'm gonna drink and smoke and watch for a second. React. What should we check out? I don't see my moderator on. I don't see any of my regulars on. So if anybody has any must-dos, shout out now. Let's check out this guy, huh? Jamal Thomas. While he still has a platform, we're going to check him out. I'm scared he's going to be gone every day too. This one is the Chinese Foreign Ministry nails U.S. for biological labs in Ukraine around the world. So this is from Jamal Thomas. He's on Sputnik. He is on radio in the mornings, and you can check him out in several different ways. And while he is there, give him some props, because he could be censored any day, just like everybody could be censored any day now.
Recently, the U.S. biological labs in Ukraine have indeed attracted much attention. According to reports, in these facilities, a large quantity of dangerous viruses are stored. Russia has found during its military operations that the U.S. uses these facilities to conduct military plans. According to data released by the U.S., it has 26 labs in Ukraine. The U.S. has 336 labs in 30 countries under its control. The U.S. has also conducted many biological military activities in Fort Detrick. What is the true intention of the U.S.? What has it done specifically? The international community has long held doubts. Once again, we urge the U.S. to give a full account of its biomilitary activities at home and abroad and accept multilateral verification. Recently,
I want to go to that. Alright, I just want to introduce you. So this is going to be Tara Reid talking about RT America being shut down and Russia Ukraine with Nico House. We try to catch up with Nico House on a regular basis. It seems like a very appropriate time for this discussion right here. We could save this till Sunday, but I'm sure I can pull up some other things by Sunday. So let's do this now. Let's do it while it's fresh. And it's important, and like I've talked about this before, this is a censorship always episode. There's many things we want to cover, but censorship is one of them. Try to, pay attention to censorship, try to pay attention to protests, and we try to pay attention to push towards a general strike. And I'm always screaming about no war, no sanctions. If you need to know, just do a review every once in a while, huh?
What is going on, everybody? Thank you all so much for tuning into this segment of Mikasa Sukasa. And of course, as always, I'm your humble host, Nico House. Back with me, I have a very special guest returning to the show. Most of you are, let's just call them many sexual infractions, one of many, or a lot of the work she's done on RT as far as contributing on the television screen and in her writing. welcome back to the show, everybody. Tara Reid. Thank you so much, Tara, for joining the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Nico.
Of course, it's my absolute pleasure. Now, Tara Reid has unfortunately been one of those victims of the censorship. So how has it hit you personally, Tara? I know everybody, because of the different subsidiaries have different ways they've been hit.
Well, first of all, I want to just say, right now, innocent victims of war, of conflict are are suffering. And the U.S. has had a really strong hand in amping it to this point, and now the rhetoric is just really ugly. And what that's created is an echo chamber because they've been weaponizing media. Part of that weaponization is silencing and censoring. So how it's affected me personally is I contribute to RT. I also have a podcast, it's ceasing, of course. But, I've also heard from colleagues and friends that worked at RT America, and they no longer, of course, have that position as RT has ceased operations and does not see itself coming back. And I think that severing of ties is so sad, huge, and notable because we cannot go into this echo chamber that's sponsored by Lockheed Martin and other weapons manufacturers. And that's where we're at. We're literally getting propaganda from people who 2 weeks, because of when this conflict started, made almost $1 trillion on the stock market.
Fucking
Wow.
Jesus.
That's not surprising. I mean,
Jesus.
And it's funny because the propaganda that they would call it, I guess if that's what they want to call it, would literally sound like, hey, there's all these calls for peace and for diplomacy that are being ignored. Somebody want to talk about that?
And I think immediately, Blinken should step down. They need to get someone with sincere diplomatic efforts, who is going to actually, what Russia asked for was very reasonable.
Bare minimum.
And listen to my podcast, Politics of Survival. Natalie Baldwin did a good job laying out the historical context, who's an expert in Russia and international relations. And what I can tell you is that, Nico, I spoke in 2020. I spoke about Biden administration wanting a war with Russia. And here we are. And they're just amping the rhetoric. They're not making sincere efforts to reach out. And they're trying to cripple Russia's economy, which is a huge mistake. And it's not going to change Russians' point of view of their leadership. And then, just in the last couple of days, you've had first it was like regime change calls from some of the blue checks and the journalists. Now they're out and out. A U.S. senator called for an assassination of Vladimir Putin.
Lindsey Graham. Yeah, he needs to be impeached now. He needs to be gone. That is, when I could not believe it. I was like, bro, did you just call for the assassination of one of the most, a leader from one of the most powerful nations in the world? Could you imagine if Putin or any part of his legislature called for the assassination of Biden? We would already be in World War III. RT would have been banned immediately, because that would somehow be a representation of everybody's opinion. I couldn't believe it, and I'm like, but let's all pretend like NATO and the United States and these neocons are acting in good faith and actually care about peace. That's not what it's about.
And they have these troll farms. I don't know if they're coming from the NSA. I don't know if they're coming from the Democratic.
They're coming from somebody.
They're coming from somebody, but they're attacking all of us that used to work at RT. They're attacking anyone with a different opinion. I got sent today a picture of an executioner's chair and said I should be executed for treason.
What?
But their tactics, they don't affect me. I've been going through this for 3 years of them trying to say they're going to kill me because I came forward with the truth. I came forward about what happened, what Joe Biden did. And let me tell you, Nico, Joe Biden did not ask my consent, and he is not going to ask the consent of the American people to go into war with Russia.
That is a fact.
There is no consent.
That is a fact. He didn't ask consent before he sent weapons to neo-Nazis either, which everybody seems to conveniently forget. I don't know how to, and believe it or not, people were denying that there were neo-Nazis in Ukraine at all. But now, obviously, that narrative is kind of shifted to, well, not everybody's a neo-Nazi. It's like, well, no one ever said that everybody's a neo-Nazi, but I just for news for everybody.
Battalions are at least 8% of the Ukrainian government or
Biden's
more
so bad.
are have
Does anybody actually like that guy?
Well, specifically, after 2014, because of the great work the Azov Battalion did for America, they forced that puppet government to fold them into the Ukrainian military officially. They were at first just a militia.
What people don't understand is that all that Russia's asking for is for Ukraine to be neutral and for no weapons on their border. These are reasonable requests.
Yes.
They're asking for the Minsk agreements to be followed. They're asking
reasonable.
for things in writing because America just
Everybody
never,
wants to protect their borders.
ever keeps its word and has broken promises and outright lied. And I just feel like right now our country's not being run by grown-ups. There are no grown-ups in this room.
Yeah, that's been,
Putin, and I'm sorry, and people are going to call me a Putin apologist, but you know what? He tried for 8 years to get diplomatic talks with Ukraine to try to solve this problem. And meanwhile, 14,000 Russian nationals were murdered, and they're not allowed to speak their language. And
he didn't even. And you would, if he was a madman that everybody was painting him to be, like he would have snapped then and there. But he did not retaliate, and as a matter of fact, the former MP of Ukraine went on Fox News and admitted, "Oh, whatever." Somebody was asking, "Oh, how are the Ukrainian people so strong? Are you surprised by this?" And she's like, "No, we've been fighting Russians for 8 years." Well, how is that? Because Russia hasn't been in your country for 8 years.
She said it, and PBS. I don't know if you saw it yet, but they aired an interview with one of the town's mayors or whatever, who's a neo-Nazi, and had a picture of a neo-Nazi behind him. But they blurred it, so they knew who it was behind them, and they blurred it on purpose because they're controlling the narrative. And that's what's so dangerous, Nico, about all this censorship. Like the Hill Rising yesterday just got suspended from YouTube for a week.
Whoa, really?
Yeah. They were suspended. Ryan Grim did an
It's
article
not on
about
his
it
Nico's house.
they did some clip
again,
of
this is
Donald
Nico
Trump.
House
That's it.
with My Casa, Su Casa Network. He does stuff with the Convo Couch, and they do good stuff, but the Hill's not even on his radar. So that the Hill being taken down 2-3 days before this discussion happened, not even gonna show up on his radar. He doesn't give a crap about the Hill.
They just were talking about something. They're not supporters of Donald Trump. They were just talking about something he said. Showed a clip. They've been banned from YouTube for a week.
So they're banning mainstream media now too. Wow.
So if we think that this censorship is going to stop at RT, it's going to start. It's happening everywhere now.
Well, we told people before, and I think we actually discussed this because we were talking about when the last time you came on my show, talking about just the silencing of your story, and that this, at first it starts with the Alex Jones of the world, right? 'Cause that's an easy target, and then all right wingers, and then every right wing platform, but then eventually, and it's usually specifically for leftists. That's who the end game, because the people who are for freedom, who are for liberty, who are for the people, those are the ones that are ultimately going to suffer. And right now, you got to think, RT is where Ed Schultz went to, one of the best journalists in the history of the world. Larry Sanders went. There's
Larry
so
King.
many
Larry
journalists.
King,
Larry King, not Larry King.
King.
Larry King, yeah. Think about basketball.
And Chris Hedges.
Chris Hedges, the most brilliant journalist of our time, really. Like that's where they went when they were tired of both the left wing and the right wing mainstream media. But make no mistake about it, the mainstream media they're going to get censored too the moment that they start stepping on. Why do you think CNN and Fox News sound exactly the same?
Fox and Tucker Carlson, they're already going after them. They tried to go after Joe Rogan. And Spotify removed my podcast. And what's ironic about that is I stuck up for Spotify and the Joe Rogan thing and said, good for Spotify for not censoring. And my podcast is proudly on there. And then yesterday they took it down, and they took down Lee Camps.
They took down Jacqueline Lukeman's By Any Means too. Because I don't think Lee's on Sputnik though, right? But I know Jacqueline Lukeman's show was.
No, Lee was on RT America, and his show Redacted Tonight was canceled. So he's going to try to do independent. So if you look for him, he's got his own thing going. I'm going to try, but it's hard, like I'm already suppressed. So you can imagine if I try,
I know.
It's just, they're just silencing us. They're silencing voices.
It's funny because they never actually, if you look, I don't know if you saw it, but they also removed, after being pressured by NATO again, Telegram removed RT.
Yes.
Yeah.
But there is a mirror, and if you go to my Telegram, Tara Reid, go to mine. I have the mirror link up there.
Well,
So there's
there you
a
go.
way
I'll
you
put
can access RT, because I was like, I couldn't bear looking at the Western news. It's just such propaganda. It's literally just propaganda.
It's literally just propaganda. I mean,
it's so hard for me to. I used to, like a year or two ago, I used to like try to watch CNN for a while and like maybe try to debunk it and stuff. Or I'll watch Fox today and I'll watch MSNBC tomorrow, and I don't have the head for it. It's just headache, aggravation, anger. There's no, their narrative is just awful.
It's disgusting. You know, it's funny. I'm a pretty simple guy when it comes to trying to figure out a narrative, right? And so my one of my top 3 rules is if Fox News, CNN, and MSNBC all agree, then they're all wrong. And it's a very concerted effort.
It's like they're just doing their talking points.
Yeah,
and, you know,
but they sound exactly alike, right? After CNN and MSNBC were at Fox News' throats calling them neo-Nazis for the last 2 years, and now all of a sudden they sound exactly the same. I remember literally the same day I saw Cenk, Andy Ngo, and Joe Biden make the exact same points.
Ugh.
You know, like
That's
where
not
you
good.
can get good coverage too is Aaron Mate, Glenn Greenwald, antiwar.com. You know,
Max Blumenthal and Ben Dorn have been doing some good work on that front too.
You know, and then RT, you can get it. Like I tried getting it on Bing, on that search engine. So I was able to get through on Bing, but like it's so weird to be an American and not be able to to be censored. It's just,
We're being censored right now, everybody.
You know, I've never seen it in my lifetime. I've never seen censorship.
We're
like
not getting
this.
both sides of the story. We're not getting
RT
full access
News,
to
at least their
information.
website is still, at least here in Miami, for whatever reason,
highlighting it.
it's still up and running.
I can't get it on Google. It's blocked. It's blocked on all search engines on the West Coast.
I've heard that. I've heard that, which is weird because I've been getting because I thought it was blocked completely too, and then I searched, and then some people are saying it's blocked on Rumble on some of like the devices, but it's not blocked on my phone when I go to search it through the app. So like some people are clearly making efforts to try and block RT. I don't know if it's
serious fuckery happening. I mean, they're just making it so difficult that they'll lose their audience, and they have millions of people that watch it. So, and I mean on YouTube, like because I don't have cable, I used to just watch the news. Like I would watch RT Live, I would watch RT America and get my news. You can't do it anymore.
Yeah,
you know?
can't just go to I know you can. I guess some people can still go to Rumble, but yeah, I used to just wake up in the morning and I was making my coffee, making my breakfast, or working out, just turn on RT, and I know that not only am I going to get great reporting, but I'm going to hear all sides of any given discussion. That is what they're truly worried about.
Yes.
And someone was saying they don't criticize Russia, and they absolutely do.
They do. I was like, that's not true.
Yeah, and all the TV hosts
They used to have
came
Tom
out
Hartman on there. He'd
yesterday
attack
because
Russia.
They just lost their positions and said publicly,
Chris Hedges, Ed Schultz, they won't be scared to attack Russia.
We've had total freedom. We've never been told what to say. And
That's
I have
me.
To say the same thing. I contribute op-eds.
Yeah, same thing. I mean, I've done segments, I've done reporting, and not only that, but let me just say too, so as a black man, like the stories that are important to me may not be important to, CNN or MSNBC or the average independent journalist because like, unless they can co-opt it, right? And like, when I wanted to talk about like Africa, for example, or indigenous people.
The fact that we were bombing Somalia last week.
Things like that. They will go out of their way to like invite me on to speak about it because that is important to me. In fact, RT is actually, because I guess it's somewhat of a blessing in disguise, but they're now expanding and they're going to have an RT Africa. And it is probably going to be very, very popular there because it's, going to expose the imperialism going on there by a major network consistently for the first time in a very long time.
That's awesome.
And I would like to think that I had, because I would talk about it a lot, and those would be some of the more popular programs, that's part of the reason why it's going to do so
awesome.
well. Like, that's the type of...
Yeah, RT Italy. That would be good.
That would be. Whoo, I don't know. I heard Italy's kind of crazy right now. I don't know if it would. Are they like banning RT?
No, I thought Italy was kind of, well, you have fractions, that are trying to stay with the West.
Let's not get into that full-on discussion.
We are mech.com. We're building a metaverse game where every single player owns a mech. And
Guys, you've got to do this for your girl.
they won't be able to keep their hands off you.
We need to talk about the way you're.
Alright, this thing's bouncing all around on me. Sorry, the internet is not liking me right now.
Know that Hunter Biden received money from Ukrainian energy companies. So let's hope that this conflict in Ukraine has no connection with energy, right?
This is what I wanted to find, though. Perfect, we found it. Bouncing around internet. Yeah, my computer's not hot or anything, but usually if I do something from Rockfin for a few minutes, I will get censored on my internet. I might need to take YouTube down and only do it on Twitch, guys. Sorry. If you're on YouTube, they might throttle me at any moment. Check me out. Same name on Twitch. But let's try Russell out for a little bit, see if we can get away with talking about Ukraine from a left side of things.
5.1 million
left,
glorious awakening
real
wonders
left.
are here right now. Here we are in limitless connection.
Oh,
Glory
that was the other
be-
reason I wanted to talk about Russell today. Russell just surpassed TYT. For my little audience here that I've been doing this for a month now, 85% of you guys watch it later. I usually go around midnight-ish, guys. But yeah, Russell has now passed TYT on subscribers. He just passed them recently. This is awesome because that means while he is growing at lightning speeds, TYT is getting less and less views on there. He's getting 600,000 views on his videos right now. This is from today, where they're getting like 10 to 30,000 views on their 5 million subscribers. If they talk about certain people, they can get it up to 100,000. He's killing it right now. And that's a good voice to be exploding. I'm super excited for that.
Glory to us, awakening together. Sure, there's complexity.
Just
Sure,
past
there's
TYT.
complications.
Oh,
Sure,
yeah.
there's occasional doubt. But if we pursue truth, if we investigate, if we communicate honestly and authentically, there's a hope for us to build something new from this. Change is possible. I can tell you that right now. We're going to be talking about Hunter Biden and his involvement with Ukrainian energy companies. It's an interesting and fantastic story. If you want to see me live, you actually can. I'm performing in Scarborough and Sheffield. There's a few tickets left. It's an amazing live experience. Come see me in Bristol, Glasgow, Plymouth. I'm all over this beautiful country. Hopefully I'll get to go around the world one day soon. But for now, it's the UK. There's a link in the description if you want to come. Now, let's see how Hunter Biden turns over a dollar bill in this crazy old world. Now, of course, loads of you will say the Hunter Biden story has been around for ages. People were talking about it during the Trump-Biden election, but it was verboten, forbidden, prevented from being discussed because it was so important that Joe Biden became president. Phew! Now Joe Biden's president and everything's perfect in the world, perhaps we can openly discuss what's going on with Hunter Biden, particularly as this is from the Guardian newspaper, and those of you that are not British, I'll tell you that the Guardian is a neoliberal, centre-left newspaper production. So if it's being discussed in the Guardian, is this yet another example of something that couldn't be discussed, something that got you labelled a nutter, a lunatic, a fascist and a racist, finally making its way into the mainstream. To the political right in America, Joe Biden's son Hunter has been the gift that keeps on giving, with his public struggles with addiction, scandalous private life and tangled business life. I would say the struggles with addiction and scandalous private life, those things are literally private. I personally am in recovery from addiction. I don't think anyone should be judged for what amounts to a mental illness. But the business dealings, if your father happens to be the President of the United States and a lifelong career politician, I think are significantly interesting. To the left, Hunter's travails are dismissed as a Republican political obsession and a talking point for tabloid journalism and internet gossip. These labels of left and right are becoming prohibitive to our mutual progress. The inability to openly discuss something based on a set of core principles and values that do not mutate according to a particular agenda has become a problem. It shouldn't matter if you historically affiliate with the Republican or Democrat Party. Who cares? Either there's been some corruption.
And it doesn't matter that Hunter is an ex-drug addict. It matters that he took a massive amount of money from a country that we're now using to perpetuate a war. That's the problem, right? I mean, that's obviously the problem.
Business dealings, or there hasn't. If there's been some corrupt business dealings, that's of interest to everyone. But last week, 2 witnesses called before a federal grand jury seated in Wilmington, Delaware, which is looking into the tax affairs of the president's son, made the subject harder to avoid. First, there was London Roberts, with whom Biden has a 3-year-old, unacknowledged child. What's that noise over there? I don't know. I need some alimony. Did you hear something? Is the window open? Then Zoe Keston, an ex-girlfriend and lingerie and textile designer, spent 5 hours giving testimony on Biden's spending, including, reportedly, stays at the Chateau Marmont in Los Angeles, where in 2018, allegedly, Biden was preoccupied with cooking crack cocaine. We have an obligation to extract the salacious and addiction-related aspect of this story from the financial and economic side, not just because it's my personal belief and experience that addiction is an illness, but also because if we conflate the addiction and the crack and the sex workers with the economic and financial, what we have is a sort of a low-level, tabloid, gossipy chit-chat thing, rather than a potentially important geopolitical corruption thing. I'm saying it suits them to see it all intermingled. Oh, it's crack, it's to do with sex workers. Crack and sex workers is an issue that can be discussed with a different set of principles and values, both involve mental health and humanitarianism, but the economics and finances, that's important and that's interesting. I'm not saying those things aren't important, I'm saying they're distinct and they're different, and this particular story warrants bespoke analysis.
All right. Yeah, no, that's a good setup. You need it to be able to talk about Hunter Biden without being politically charged. He is absolutely a problem that we need to talk about, be okay talking about, and you can attack him without attacking the president, which, again, you know what, he's corrupt as shit because of his dad, so let's talk about the whole situation, but anyhow. Back to it.
An issue out of Hunter's business dealings in Ukraine, Russia, and China. Which included high-paid consultancies and gifts and allegations that as Vice President, Joe Biden had shaped American foreign policy in Ukraine to benefit his son. We've already made a video that explains various ways in which American interests and American-sponsored agencies have shaped Ukrainian policy. We'll show you that in a minute. So to hear that Biden may have shaped Ukrainian policy in order to advance the interests of his son does not seem as unfeasible as it might first sound. Then came the surfacing of Hunter Biden's missing laptop with its library of decadent pictures and business email chains, mysteriously left at a Wilmington repair shop, which found its way to Republican political operatives, including Rudy Giuliani and Steve Bannon, plus the right-wing press and the FBI. Again, it's a problem when matters of principle become partisan issues. Rudy Giuliani, Steve Bannon, it's pretty clear where their interests lie, and right-wing press, that speaks for itself. But we shouldn't be so tribally loyal to a set of motifs and ideals that ultimately don't serve ordinary people one jot either way anyway, that we can't look at what's actually happening. Are these people behaving appropriately? Is there significant evidence for financial inquiry or economic corruption? If the answer is no, then it's like, oh, phew. But if this does lead to evidence of financial impropriety, then you have to incorporate that into your understanding of the Democratic movement and the Democratic Party and the way that this was handled during the election, and the way that it wasn't published and what the ends were. How can you defeat corruption using corruption? You're now part of the problem. On the political flip side, House Intelligence Committee Chair Adam Schiff said the laptop was a smear from Russian intelligence, and 50 former intelligence officials said it was probably Russian disinformation. Now, however, almost no one disputes its authenticity. So just remember that. Remember what you saw on late night talk shows. Remember what you saw on the news. Remember how this was discussed. I know you remember, because I know you get called conspiracy theorists. You know there are things you and I see differently. Loads of things. But hopefully we can agree on a set of core principles and values that we can apply in almost any situation. That means we can start to build systems based on those values. If the values change on according to who's done what, oh no, that corruption's not corruption because we did it. Oh, that's no problem, don't report that, that could change. Then we've got nothing. We've got nothing to defend. And when we find ourselves in serious geopolitical situations, conflict, war, who do we turn to? What resource in yourself have you got if you don't have no values? Because you know that your whole culture is built on the plasticity of personal requirement, self-interest, self-centeredness, things that in spiritual systems are regarded as sinful and to be avoided. Hunter Biden confirmed that he was under federal investigation over a tax matter in December 2020 after his father was elected president. Biden has not been charged with any crime, and David Weiss, US Attorney for Delaware, who oversees the inquiry, is regarded as a straight shooter, unlikely to be swayed by political pressure. He was appointed by Trump on the recommendation of the state's 2 Democratic senators and has not been replaced by Joe Biden. Weiss, according to Politico, avoided taking any decisions that would alert the public to the existence of the inquiry before the 2020 presidential election, and a repeat of the FBI's Hillary Clinton missing emails investigation, which may have influenced the outcome of the 2016 contest. So this is something people were aware of and investigating prior to the last American election, but did not report on or make any decisions that might lead to public interest in order to keep it out of the news, presumably because they thought it might discredit Joe Biden and his presidential campaign. So that is the management of information, or as it would be called now, misinformation. But the larger question, beyond whether Hunter Biden correctly met tax obligations during a period in which, by his own telling, he was being paid $50,000 a month by Ukrainian firm Burisma, which is a good wage, let's face it, 50 grand a month from Burisma. What do you get paid? About 50 grand a month? Who buy Burisma? What are they? Ukrainian energy company? What do you do? Keep that out. Are Biden's financial ties to foreign figures and businesses while his father served as Barack Obama's number 2? The thing with Joe Biden is Joe Biden's been in government for a long time. He's only been president for a little while and, blink and you'll miss it. But he's been in politics for a while. So during that whole time, the business activities of his family are of significant interest. Yes. In addition to Hunter Biden's ties to Ukraine through gas company Burisma, he has sat on the boards of BHR Partners, a private investment fund backed by a number of Chinese state entities. Oh.
Jesus, guys. So yeah, try not to show us the whole clip, but man, Hunter is engulfed. We know it. Check out, there's a few people talking about it right now. And they're worth checking out. Let's keep moving though. I got a few more clips I want to get to tonight. And I found this one finally.
In the media, you can see those horrifying scenes, but at the same time.
So she's about to hop on here. Let's check out Kamala. Speaking of evil, horrible people. She is just corrupt as can be, and fake as can be, and plastic as can be, and let's check out her today with President Andrzej Duda.
I was able to witness the huge heroism
Polish
and
president.
Determination of the Ukrainian people. And we stand at the side of the Ukrainian people. We're going to support them with all our strength, but at the same time providing the security of our countries, which is of crucial importance to us. Once again, thank you very much, Madam Vice President, for coming to Warsaw. Thank you for this demonstration that we stand together and that we are a huge Euro-Atlantic community of freedom and security. Thank you. I'd like to give the floor to Madam Vice President of the United States of America.
Look how she's about to laugh at him.
President Duda, and for the warm welcome under unfortunate circumstances, given what is happening in Ukraine, our friend. But I thank you for the warm welcome and for the very constructive and productive conversations we had today as part of our ongoing dialogue and friendship that spans generations. I would like to also speak directly to the Polish people. I have shared with your president that under his leadership and your leadership has been extraordinary. The world has been watching Poland, Mr. President, your leadership and the leadership of the people of your country. And we've witnessed extraordinary acts
Leadership and
of
leadership from
generosity
others.
and kindness. We have seen through images on the television, looking at images of ordinary people doing extraordinary
Did she just look at her hand like it was a phone?
in support of the dignity and the well-being of perfect strangers. So I first and
Oh my
foremost want to
goodness.
express the thanks for the people of the United
She is
States.
never going to be
to you,
president,
Mr.
people.
President,
This is
on
not
behalf
going to
of our
happen.
President Joe Biden,
They need to stop pushing
and
her
to
on
the
us.
people of Poland for what you are doing every day. It really represents the best of who we are. We are here, and I am here in Poland today,
Man.
as part of an enduring, long-standing friendship and commitment between the United States and Poland based on shared values and priorities. I am here, standing here on the northern flank, on the eastern flank, talking about what we have in terms of the eastern flank and our NATO allies, and what is at stake at this very moment. What is at stake this very moment are some of the guiding principles around the NATO alliance and in particular, the issue and the importance of defending sovereignty and territorial integrity, in this case of Ukraine. As President Duda has described, we have been witnessing for weeks, and certainly just in the last 24 hours, atrocities of unimaginable proportion. A maternity hospital, a children's hospital, where we have witnessed.
Like, it sounds professional if you only listen to it, but just the way she speaks, her whole demeanor, man, it's fucking cringe, yo. I don't like it. She's fucking cringe. I know it's my personal opinion, blah, blah, blah.
Pregnant women who were there for care, for one reason, being taken out because they required care because of an act of violence, unprovoked, unjustified. I am here in Poland as an expression of the enduring and important relationship between the United States and Poland that again has been long-standing, but in particular on the issue of Ukraine is unified and is clear. We will do everything together in partnership, in solidarity, to support what is necessary at this very moment in terms of the humanitarian and security needs of Ukraine and the Ukrainian people. Today we discussed, Mr. President, many issues that relate to our special bond also, because I will say as a point of personal privilege, we have a substantial Polish-American community in my hometown of Los Angeles, but throughout the United States, who understands the relationship that we have on many levels, including the diplomatic, but also cultural relationships that span generations. And so through...
Like, seriously, when she talks, I'm not sure if she's laughing at, like, the fucking joke of her whole existence, or if she's laughing at the guy. But why is she giggling right now? Why is she laughing? This is an important discussion. This is an important venue. This is an important trip for her. And her career is essentially on display in the EU. She had never been to Europe. She'd never been to Europe either, was like her presidential run questionnaire. So if she's going to do this, maybe she should put a little freaking effort into it and maybe not stop giggling.
All of that, and in the spirit of those relationships and our shared commitment to the importance of international norms and rules. You and I discussed today many important topics, in particular as it relates to the Eastern flank. And we talked specifically about what we care deeply about in terms of our commitment, the United States commitment to Article 5. I've said it many times, I will say it again. The United States commitment to Article 5 is ironclad. The United States is prepared to defend every inch of NATO territory. The United States takes seriously that an attack against one is an attack against all. We are here today to restate that commitment, but also to do what we must do to reinforce our support of Poland and our allies through the EU and NATO alliance. In particular, as it relates to troop deployment, we have recently deployed an additional 4,700 American troops to Poland. That's on top of the years of rotation of about 5,000 American troops in Poland. We are pleased to have announced this week that we have directed 2 Patriot missile defense systems to Poland, and today I can announce that we have delivered those Patriot systems to Poland. We do this as a reminder and as a demonstration of our commitment to the security of our allies and our commitment in particular to Poland at this moment in time. As it relates to the people of Ukraine, they have suffered immensely.
Oh, is she gonna try to cry?
When we talk about humanitarian aid,
I think that's all she got.
it is because, yes, the assistance...
She's trying this whole time to, like, put some actual effort and emotion into it, but it doesn't work, and she doesn't pull it off, and nobody should be surprised. Because I'm not. But that's all I can handle from her in one day, or ever, really. Almost never bring her up for a reason, guys, so let us move on. I wanted to get to Tom today. This one seemed pretty important today, so we did hit on this subject earlier. Let's tie it up with one.
If you want to eat healthy and
clip.
feel your best,
This is
you've
Tom
got to try.
Hartman. Homophobic reasoning behind the Don't Say Gay bill, the bullshit bill that is in my state, the state of Florida. I can't apologize enough for my governor, but I've never voted for him, although I will get to vote against him this year. So I will do my part and vote against DeSantis the dick. But for now, we just got to make people aware of the kind of shit he does. The Don't Say Gay bill is something that he does. The rights to hit people protesting with your vehicle is something that he does. Making it harder to get protesting permits is something he does. So he is not for freedom of speech. He is not for protesting. He is okay with assault with a deadly weapon, though.
Passed the Don't Say Gay bill yesterday. And all across Florida now, you've got high school students coming out chanting, "We say gay," and things like that. But now Michael Cardona, the U.S. Secretary of Education, has issued essentially a warning to Florida about this specifically. This is a statement that he made last night or late yesterday afternoon. He said, quote, "The Department of Education has made clear that all schools receiving federal funding," which, by the way, would be all the Florida public schools, "that all schools receiving federal funding must follow federal civil rights law, including Title IX's protections against discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity." And then he went even farther. He said, "We stand with our LGBTQ plus students in Florida and across the country and urge Florida's leaders to make sure all their students are protected and supported." He went on to say, "Parents across the country are looking to national, state, and district leaders to support our nation's students, to help them recover from the pandemic, and to provide them the academic and mental health supports they need. Instead, leaders in Florida are prioritizing hateful bills that hurt some of the students most in need." Amen. Only 40% of Floridians support the Don't Say Gay bill, by the way. Meanwhile, down in Florida, you've got a Florida legislator. This is State Senator Ileana Garcia, who says all kinds of crazy stuff like, "I'm not an illegal. Why should I get upset about what Trump says about illegals?" Or Trump, he's like a parent. When parents want to get their point across, they yell. That's what Trump's doing. This is a Trumpy Republican state senator who came out yesterday, on Tuesday morning on the Senate floor as they were passing this Don't Say Gay bill, as they were passing this piece of legislation, came out and said, quote, "Gay is not a permanent thing. LGBT is not a permanent thing." Right. We're back to that old argument. Oh, it's just a choice. People are just choosing to be gay. They could choose to be straight. They could choose to, oh my God. I thought that we were way past this. I thought that we were so far.
Welcome to Florida.
By the way, Senator Garcia won her seat by just 34 votes.
Progressive and backwards at the same time.
I don't know if this is going to help her or hurt her in the elections coming up this fall. Her history is that she served as the deputy press secretary for the Department of Homeland Security under Donald Trump before being given that job, or she was given that job by the Trump administration as a kind of a tip of the hat and a thank you for her having started a Florida group called Latinas for Trump. She later served as the Trump campaign's communications director for Latino outreach. So we've got a 100% fully Trumpy Republican down in Florida saying, oh yeah, it's just a choice. You can choose something different, and that's what we should be teaching our kids in school, or we shouldn't even be talking about it at all. And if these kids are in a crisis because of their gender identity, screw them. Just let it commit suicide. It doesn't matter.
Don't talk about it.
Yeah, of course, gay students have the highest suicide risk in the nation. One of the things that we know about this. And
before you turn 19, it's and then after you turn 19, it's PSTD.
This is just criminal. The legislation is just criminal. It is the whole thing. I mean,
I agree with
the
Tom,
idea that
usual.
a political party
is
using
usual,
bigotry and discrimination as their...
I agree with him enough that I'm going to show him often, guys, and I definitely agree with him here. He is one old man that is based. All right, let's finish with something a little funny. I got a lot of clips left on YouTube I want to show here. I want to do one clip on Rockfin just for the Twitch. So let's do one short. I need a laugh. We're going to finish YouTube off on a laugh before we get serious again to finish the night. So one little quick laugh. We're going to finish up on YouTube. I got a good show for you guys tomorrow. I got a lot of stuff left. And there will always be new stuff to wrap up the Friday night with. So we got a good show tomorrow night. Let's wrap up with something to make us smile a little bit, huh?
Good day, Hyperion Club
And
members.
this is again the Jimmy Dore video from one of his help producers, tech editors, who I'm not sure exactly what she does in the office. He has a few people he pays for the show. It's a professional show. So, ooh-wee. So like I said, finishing our YouTube stream out with something funny.
Saw this, you know how what's happening right now is everything's being turned into a cultural issue, and if you're on the wrong side of the establishment, they call you racist, right? That's just how it happens, right? So
Yeah.
I advocated for Medicare for all. I was called a racist. Bernie Sanders advocated for Medicare for all. He was called a sexist. I advocated for ending the wars. I was called a conspiracy theorist and a Russian. So you know how you see how it goes. Well, I found this video on the Twitter, and this young lady has found the same thing. She said, I used to think right wing referred to conservative politics, but after watching so much CNN, I'm pretty sure it just means nope, I don't like it. So here, let's see how it goes.
I cannot believe he broke up with you over text. That is so right wing. Babe, do these jeans make me look right wing? Nape is so right wing. What? That is so right wing. Oh, so right wing. Ow. Racist.
Very funny. That was very funny. That's done by our own right here. That's done in-house by Misha McCourtney Paulin. Is that how you say your last name, Paulin? I got it. I don't want to say Palin because that's not good. Well, nice job. That was very funny, Misha. Thank you for doing that and posting it. Let's watch it again. It's funny.
Yeah, I want to see it again. Thank you.
I cannot believe he broke up with you over text. That is so right wing. Babe, do these jeans make me look right wing? Nape is so right wing. What? That is so right wing. Oh, so right wing. Ow. Racist.
I like the last one.
So matter of
Nice
fact.
work, Misha.
So matter of fact.
So right wing. Racist. Funny shit. Funny shit. Alright, guys. That is all for the YouTube stream. I got another long clip for Twitch, but YouTube will cut my shit. So I'm out for YouTube. I will see you guys tomorrow night around midnight as usual. Stony Progressive. Twitch, keep on going. Stony Progressive.